Morning, live streamers.
Hands are up.
Hello, perfect strangers. Got us through July, and here we are in August. First week of football is here. Thursday night, is it? August 5th? 3rd, 4th? Yeah, 5th. Thursday night. NFL exhibition game. This Friday, Gamecock football kicks off practice. High school football practice already underway. I don't even know how much you needed that harmonica this morning. Maybe not a ton of football news to get to this morning. And Bill Gunter has the day off, so Patrick Corrett and Jen Jensen, me, I'm Tim Hill, helping to get you through your Monday this morning. Patrick, what had you going this weekend? What stands out to you in the sports landscape? Is it the immediate disappointment of looking up Team USA women's soccer not making it through the semifinal round this morning?
Well, the beauty of me and watching the Olympics is I have no schedule. I don't know when anything's actually happening. I just turn on the Olympic channel and see what's going on and then give my 100% investment into whatever I'm watching at that exact moment. So I remember, I guess, seeing that they were playing on Monday, but I did not know this morning that I was going to wake up and even see that Canada played Team USA in the Olympics because I went to bed watching Team USA versus Mexico in the Gold Cup, which was unbelievable. It was the first time the Las Vegas Raiders stadium has been sold out for that final, that U.S.-Mexico final, and it was intense. It was loud. It was unbelievable. It was everything I wanted it to be. So, yeah, I woke up happy that the USA won the Gold Cup, and I guess was disappointed that USA lost to Canada because we're supposed to dominate that sport. I think we'd won like 40 matches or something like that coming into the Olympics. So they hadn't played well from the very beginning. They lost to Sweden, got handled by Sweden, and played a really boring game against Australia and made it to PKs with the Netherlands. And I don't think anyone expected, after watching their performance the last couple games, for them to be the gold medal favorite any longer. So bummer, but it's okay. I didn't watch it, so I'm less disappointed.
But when we last left off, you were 100% invested in that Netherlands game.
Yes.
I believe.
It was like 10 minutes after the show ended that PK started.
And you stayed with it, correct?
Yeah, if I watch something, I'm going to get way more upset. If I just found out everything, if I never watched South Carolina games on Saturdays and just found out on Sunday morning, yeah, they lost or they won, I probably wouldn't take them as hard. But when you put a 3 to 4 hour investment into something, or at least for soccer, a 2 hour investment into something, and you lose, it stings way more.
That makes sense. I can see that. On the positive side, from the Team USA women, A'ja Wilson continuing to lead Team USA basketball. I'm going to continue to make that up, screw that up continuously, as a former Gamecock who I saw play at Heathwood Hall. A'ja with 22 points in the latest win. It was Team USA, I believe, over France relatively easily on its way to the quarterfinals on the women's side of things. And this, I think we're seeing it before our eyes, Patrick, how A'ja Wilson, if she's not already to the entire country, becoming the face of Team USA basketball and the national face of women's basketball, like she's been in the Columbia area for years and years. I feel like we're seeing that evolution right now for her on the national or international stage, I guess you could say.
It does feel that way. I don't know if there's rankings of who's the best, but I mean, coming off an MVP, she's obviously got the statue here, and everyone's kind of taking notice of her personality and how fun and just an awesome person she is. I definitely think she's becoming the face. It's always hard for me to tell in a sport where, like men's basketball, it's obviously LeBron James, and everyone's been playing for second since 2003, basically. But I don't know if that's like thought of as the case, because there's still all those legends like Sue Bird and those like old heads on the women's basketball team, like the original group of like women's basketball WNBA stars. But yeah, maybe I always also struggle when it's someone from like my little echo chamber here. Like, we all obviously know how great A'ja is, and I do think her being in Las Vegas also helps that kind of reach. And I would agree. I don't know if you polled a random WNBA fan from the Midwest, would they say that A'ja Wilson is the new face of women's basketball on the whole? I don't know.
Yeah, it might depend how this thing ends up as well. The win over France was the 52nd in a row for Team USA, so not exactly news in the Olympics. But the story is not that A'ja Wilson's becoming the face of international basketball or Team USA necessarily. I think the story, as I'm reading it, is that Team USA hasn't been overly dominant. Like they were losing in the fourth quarter to France, who that was their second loss of the Olympics. But they do move on to the quarterfinals because of a point differential, I guess, at tiebreakers or other third-place teams in pool play. But the fact that they only won by 11 points kind of more the story, or that Team USA not necessarily clicking on all cylinders, a lot like that the soccer story that you're talking about on the women's side of things. So I think if things click into gear and A'ja Wilson continues to lead the way, maybe it'll be much more of the story here in the medal round as the quarterfinals get going for Team USA women's basketball on Wednesday. They'll find out who they play a little later on today.
I think that's the only sport that they're putting on Peacock or exclusively on Peacock. So basketball, men's and women's, is the only sport that I have not watched at all. Like I haven't watched a second of any of the games, even on tape delay, just because Peacock is behind a paywall and it's very annoying. I'm not doing that. I have the NBC Olympics app, so I'm watching all of the smaller events, but whenever basketball comes on, it's just not on my feed. I don't know if that's an intentional way for NBC to try and, I guess I'm assuming that they think everyone's going to come watch the stars, so they're putting the main basketball teams on Peacock to try and make people buy it.
Now, I definitely saw the first men's game. Yeah, the first men's game on delay later on that afternoon on regular NBC. So
because it was you had to pay to watch it live in the morning.
That's the deal. Okay.
Yeah.
But the time difference continues to be a challenge, 13 hours. And I guess maybe the overall headline for the Olympics now is that Simone Biles will be back competing for one last event. The balance beam individual finals will feature Simone Biles the first time since we had the big discussion. And I guess that was, I think, last Wednesday morning, maybe last Tuesday morning, the team finals, where she had a vault, didn't go well, and then pulled herself out and talked about the mental stress and pulling out for mental health reasons. Simone Biles will compete. And this is kind of what I talked about, kind of what I had hoped, that it would be a positive end to what has been a kind of a sad story in a lot of ways, certainly a controversial story. But maybe this will give a happy ending to Simone Biles in Tokyo 2020 that's happening in 2021.
Yeah, we'll get to see her at least one more time. I guess the vault, it makes sense. The twisties is a phrase that I'd never heard before in my life that I was introduced to this weekend, where you just kind of lose all sense of space and time when you're in the air. You don't know where you are. So if that is what her deal is, then she definitely can't do the vault. That's probably the single most dangerous thing. But if she deems that the balance beam is safe enough for her to do, or she can be completely fine and do her routine on the balance beam, then yeah, that's awesome. I'll be happy to see her. So I guess we can have a happy ending of she powered through whatever problem she was having, and hopefully you can win a gold medal out of it. That would be great. So don't blame her for not doing the vault. It's consistent with kind of everything that we have learned in the last 5 or so days. But balance beam seems like the perfect middle ground for her. So we'll be glad to see the face of Team USA one more time before this thing ends.
I think you asked, and then we talked to our PBR hero on Friday in Vin Johns, who is a former collegiate gymnast and is now riding bulls and is an American Ninja Warrior and the whole thing. And you're talking about what's maybe the one event that regular people could do. I don't think he came up with one, but the balance beam is the one that I absolutely could not do and amazes me the most. But it does make sense, I guess, for Simone Biles and what we've heard here. And again, all of us who weighed in that have zero gymnastics background on all of this is part of the story for sure. Because as fans, when we see something that has never happened before, I think it's only right to form an opinion and then move forward. But to do it without factoring in all the information is kind of ridiculous, but that is Sports Talk Radio sometimes, for sure. But now to see Simone Biles being able to get back into competition here and do it in this very limited way. I think it's the last individual event in the gymnastics there. If you're not pulling for her, I think you might want to analyze exactly what's going on and the motivations behind that. I had someone hit us up over the weekend, Daryl, saying that he couldn't believe the amount of vitriol directed towards Biles on the national shows. I can believe it. It's sad, but it's what it is also human nature, I think, to build people up and then break them down and the whole thing. And if you, especially in this situation, that has never happened before. I think it's very easy to hop on the high horse and wag your finger and the whole thing. So just from that standpoint, I hope Biles kind of shows people, even though that would probably only turn those people around and say, so you should have been competing the whole time. It was just weak and the whole thing. I read an opinion piece in the Washington Post. I believe it was posted yesterday from Dominique Dawes. Do you remember that name at all, Patrick? She's a gymnast from your neck of the woods from back in the day.
Yeah.
Someone who has actually been through something to the effect of what Simone Biles is going through, and she just mentioned just what a brutal grind and a bit of a messed up system. I think probably putting it lightly, that U.S. gymnastics was in her experience, and she was obviously there through the Larry Nassar time, and Simone Biles is the last one, I think, going through that was just affected brutally from all of that situation. But just talked about how she almost had a breakdown as well back in the Olympics and was fortunate to get through it, and it didn't become public and the whole thing. So this doesn't seem to be the first time that it's happened, but certainly the first time the way that it's happening for Simone Biles, and now getting back and might be able to write a happy ending to this story. I think a lot of us will be pulling for her in that way. If you are not, again, might want to analyze exactly why and work through that for sure, because it's just sad for me to see that it gets passionate in kind of an ugly and personal way when this situation has gone down, Patrick. That's kind of where I'm at in the evolution of all this. Certainly knowing that the first time I heard it, I said, what? How can you step away from your team for mental health in the middle of a competition? And then just, I guess, continuing to learn more information about it since then, as I've come around on the other side of this thing in a lot of ways.
Well, the problem was that, like with most things, when there's clearly just two opposite reactions and there's no middle ground or any compromise or room for discussion in between, that's exactly what the Simone Biles was. It was half of she's a quitter and she's embarrassing her country or whatever, and then there was other people saying this is the most heroic thing I've ever seen in all of my years. She is a hero and we should parade her around and celebrate the fact that she did this. Like, there was just no middle ground of, hey, can we talk about why this happened or the impact of gymnastics? Can somebody tell us what the twisties was live in real time so that we know, like, actually what we're talking about here, instead of just saying the yips and trying to make comparisons to other sports? Or there was no compromise or middle ground to be had. And anytime that's the case with any issue, it's difficult to talk about, and you know that both sides are probably wrong in some regard. So that's I haven't even really seen it let up. I mean, it's kind of faded away, this story, for the most part, but until the Olympics are over, it's not going to completely disappear, and I haven't really seen the conversation change much either.
There's also the factor in there too that she has taken women's gymnastics to a whole nother level, literally, like athletically, that I guess you can't get an analyst on there that will be honest enough to say, me or anyone else that's ever done gymnastics, not as good as her, as good as this. We don't know exactly what she's going through doing those moves because no one else has ever been able to do it. So maybe we back off a little bit. I don't think anybody had the humility, because the analysts in the gymnastics are getting paid for their specific knowledge and experience of going through it. So they kind of undercut themselves, saying, "Hey, I don't know. I've never been able to do it. No one's been able to do it." And it's been unfortunate in a lot of ways, I think, Patrick. But I'm hopeful that this will help move this conversation forward. Kind of like Michael Phelps said, That was my big takeaway from Phelps. First of all, that he started comments with, it broke my heart to see this. And then hoping that it will shine a light more onto mental health issues. As he was saying it, I found myself almost getting upset in the, I don't know exactly how to state it. Overimportance is my clumsy way of saying it. But when Michael Phelps says he hopes that Olympic athletes will now be able to get the mental health support that they need, or athletes everywhere. And that just kind of got me angry, thinking, well, that should be kind of the last place mental health resources go to, right? It should be the much more serious jobs or situations in our country where it goes to first, and then you trickle down to athletics. Maybe we've seen it in our country in so many different ways through the decades and centuries, years, Patrick, that sports kind of can be ahead of the curve in society and lead to change. So I'm hoping maybe that's where this goes, as opposed to some of the discussion we've seen in the last several days.
I think so, and I think as we get farther and farther away from the Olympics and this is in the rearview mirror, it will be. People are just all fired up and emotional right now, and it'll be okay in a couple of days. Did you see what happened with Djokovic though?
No, what happened with?
Well, I think Joker made a couple of comments when he was asked about this and said something about pressure being a privilege, but I think it was yesterday. He lost his bronze medal match, smashed his rackets, quit, and then dropped out of the mixed doubles final as well. So just completely screwed over his partner. She's sitting there, did nothing wrong, and now she's not going to get a chance at a medal because he just quit.
But I like that, because at least it was honest. Because just like there are different opinions between us on the show as it was happening, right? I was much more on you can't do this to your team in this situation while it was happening. And Bill was much more that, hey man, we don't know exactly what she's going through here, and a little bit of a softer approach. I feel like that's how athletes feel too. And I've certainly gotten comments from people I know in sports off the record that very much in line with the, hey, no, that's unacceptable kind of deal. But the more you learn about it, and I feel like the more this thing goes, that's why I can appreciate Novak Djokovic, very high profile guy, going out and saying that. And now it is interesting how it ended up for her. Alex says, so I look at it as, what if she tore her ACL? There would be no question when she stepped away. Or is it apples to oranges? It's very much apples to oranges there, Alex, because we've seen that situation many, many times. And you always see the outpouring of support when there's a physical thing going on. We never seen it like this with a mental deal, especially how it happened. Kev's got a good point too. So Alex hit us on the Facebook live chat this morning as we're up and rolling on the video stream, sponsored by Buford Lending. Kev hits us on the YouTube live chat. It says, morning, y'all. Is there not some part of it bringing it on herself? She wears goat shoes, jackets, and says if anyone else was as good as her, they'd be supported a lot more, or something along that line, at least ending up in the Olympics. That's what she was saying. She not trying to bash her, Kev saying. No, we pointed it out that day, I believe, how she has the goat embroidered on the actual leotard or the USA uniform there. There's some of that to it for sure. And that also helps bring maybe out there, and easier to criticize, I think, when you're as successful as Simone Biles has been. 803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in. Andy just simply says, how about Xander Schauffele? Xander Schauffele taking the gold medal home in golf. It was Rory Sabatini competing for the Czech Republic, even though he's from Spain, I think. I guess it was one of those family history deals. He finishes in second, and it was a 7-way tie, I think, for third. That CT Pan ended up beating Colin Morikawa out in the playoff for the bronze medal. So the U.S. just missing out on gold and bronze, ended up with just the gold, and Xander Schauffele taking that one home in the golf portion of the Olympics that I paid zero attention to, because we always see international golf, and it's kind of an odd deal to me to turn it into an Olympic sport.
Well, yeah, I'm always curious. I guess golf is so new that it's hard to know. But when sports like that, where does the gold medal rank in terms of accomplishments that you could get?
Right.
Like, I assume that in basketball, Damian Lillard would rather have an NBA Finals championship than a gold medal with Team USA. I don't know how to compare it to other sports, but I would think that Schauffele would rather have a Masters, right? Because it's more respected in golf, but still, a gold medal I just think is so cool to have. So I don't know where that would rank in the hierarchy of awards a golfer can win at this point.
Other headlines this morning: a constitutional convention is what the NCAA is going to have, allegedly, to address where they are right now compared to where they need to go in college sports in general. We'll get into that a little bit. And the headline from baseball over the weekend happened off the field with Vandy star Kumar Rocker not signing as the number 10 overall pick with the New York Mets. We'll get an expert opinion in on that about 6:40 this morning. Going to have former pitching coach Scott Reed for the Gamecocks, just got the first head coaching job as the head coach of Troy. He's going to join us about 6:40 or so with some serious baseball expertise to weigh in on this situation as we move forward. And we'll get into plenty of college football news and notes over the weekend as well. Glad you're a part of the program. Hope your week's starting off well. Tim, Patrick, and Jen with you this morning. Bill has the morning off. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game. So I'm kind of glad you didn't see the soccer game, not coming in completely bummed this morning.
Yeah, did it start at 4, I'm guessing?
I'm guessing so as well.
I think that's what time they've been.
Morning, Anthony. Carlton, good morning. Thanks for the heads up there. First day in Shells there at BC.
You've never heard of Chris O'Leary, have you?
I don't think so.
He was on BC station the other day. He calls himself, what's his name? The Pain Guy is his Twitter handle, and he is apparently very controversial in the baseball world, but for years has been calling that Steven Strasburg's mechanics are messed up. So I think it might be the inverted W or inverted T or something is what they were saying. And he basically said that he's going to get TOS eventually, and has been calling it for years. And he was on the DC station the other day talking about it, and one of the things he mentioned at the end was like, yeah, I don't like Leiter or Rocker's mechanics. He said Leiter's doing too much to get into the whatever speed, like 95. His body's doing too much to get him to 95, and it's unnatural, and it's going to come back and bite him. And he said he's never liked Rocker the way Rocker throws, and that's why he's always been hurt. I was trying to read through his page, but he's only got 3,600 followers.
What a fun guy to be, it sounds like.
Yeah. But that was like 2 days before. That was like Friday, I think. I was listening to that and heard him on there.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh man, you're gonna like the second episode of Ted Lasso.
Is it 2 that's out right now?
I think so. I watched the second one Saturday night. My big Saturday night.
I might just go 2 at a time. That'll be easy. But they're like 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
The first time I watched it all in about 2 days, and it was great because you just don't want to stop watching it.
Yeah, we're talking about Ted Lasso. If you guys haven't checked it out, certainly recommend it.
A lot of you probably have Apple TV and don't even know it, because if you've bought any sort of Apple product, it probably comes with a free year of Apple TV.
Good, Patrick, just helping the world.
That's how it worked for me. Somebody bought a new phone, and we they like threw it in the box or something and didn't tell us like, yeah, you get a free year of Apple TV. It's actually probably going to end soon, and I'm going to realize that I'm paying for it, and then be bummed.
That's how they work. Sorry, just confirming with Skylar Meade there. He's good to go.
Will this be his first time on the station?
I would assume, since taking the new job.
He's taking the new job, yep. Heavyweight wrestling is insane.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
These guys are 100 or what? 168 kilograms. Is that what it was? 125 kilograms.
Oh, still low.
Comes out to like 280, 275.
There were two teams that shot 58 in that sucker, so 14 under out of the 18 holes. Sterling Sharp's team ended up finishing second, I guess, in the tiebreaker of the golf cards, and the guys who run the course ended up winning the thing, which makes sense.
That was
one of those guys gave Bill a dozen donuts right before he just, as we were doing it, really nice guy, Jeff, he came up and was like, hey, no excuses not to play well. Here you go. And it was Harold Pickrell, I think, kind of leading the way there. And then Sterling Sharp had Harold Green on his team, too. We were picking up the longest drive stake and had Sterling Sharp's last name, or as the last name on there, and then a commentary there that was classic Sterling. It's good stuff.
He was the longest drive?
Yeah. He can match it.
We're about to head back in.
How old is he?
Sterling played, got out in, 88? So, yeah,
56.
So he's about 13 years. He's mid-50s.
Patrick, are you on 2 or 7?
2.
What's that?
I just was making sure where everybody was.
Yeah, we're going to get out here in about 38, 37, 38, 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, you guys are up.
Hey, thanks for starting your week with us. Football's here this week. How about that? Patrick, can you even get your brain there at this point, especially with all the Olympic talk we just had and where we are in the usual sports calendar? Knowing high school football is already going into shells today if they've been practicing a little bit. Gamecock football kicks off on Friday morning. NFL Hall of Fame game the night before. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game Thursday night. Exhibition NFL football.
I was last week doing the whole it's our last week until the Super Bowl without football, but I'm not going to be excited for this game. I'll watch the Hall of Fame game I'll give it like half an hour, maybe like a possession or two on each side. But the Hall of Fame game every year is something I get myself amped up for. Football's back. I get to see NFL teams out there taking the field. And every year, I can't name any of the players that are actually on the field. None of the starters are playing. It's so much worse than a regular preseason game. So, yeah, I'll be excited to just see NFL players running around playing football. But then I'll realize that it's going to be a very long month of August before we can actually get real football back. When Washington plays, I'll be excited. I always get pumped to watch the third-string position battles develop in the fourth quarter of preseason games, but outside of that, no, it's not. It's not going to be the same. It's just cool. Since it's the Cowboys and the Steelers, it'll be cool just seeing that helmet out there on a real field, and both helmets really because they're both legendary teams, and it'll be cool seeing them running around. But apart from that, I'll be excited for 15, 30 minutes, and then it'll be get me to September because I'm done with this.
A massive month plus now as we're into August. Pretty much wrapping up for Gamecock football, at least kind of from the outside looking in from my perspective, not being the resident recruiting nerd on the program like Bill, but Gamecock football holding its on-campus cookout that it typically has done in years past. Here in the last several years, this has become a thing, and it's become a thing on the campuses all over the country for sure. But a lot of the guys who have committed to Carolina for the class of 2022, and then a lot of the guys, they're still recruiting very heavily moving forward in future classes on campus over the weekend, and you always get the very special and enjoy the relationships and the discussions with the position coaches and the whole thing. So didn't see any necessarily noteworthy news out of the cookout over the weekend from a commitment standpoint, or probably more important right now for the Gamecock coaching staff, no decommitment news. I did see nationally, I was a number 2 player, I think, from Ohio State's class, a top 15 guy, decommitted over the weekend. So a relatively quiet recruiting news weekend, I think, from the Gamecock standpoint anyway, which was a good thing in their position after seeing so many guys, just a flurry of commitments in the month of June.
Yeah, I think what you saw was just a bunch of kids posting their official offer Photoshop thing, whatever it was that got sent out. Lots of pictures of
letter.
Beamer.
Right?
Yeah,
It's a graphic in kind of the form of a letter signed by Shane Beamer. Dabo Sweeney's got one out there from Clemson, saw one from Arkansas as well. This is the new trend, right? To put the official offer out there kind of in writing, and then for guys to basically kind of promote the program through their own social media is where big time college football is going.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of those, and then just pictures of Beamer, pictures around the campus, and there was the one picture of I saw a picture of the 3 offensive linemen together. It looked like they're going to be great friends. Henry, Maines, and Brubaker all hanging out together. So, no, it looked like a good weekend. Kids from all over the country. Lane Sampson was here from Texas. Kids from Florida, all over. So now they can spend their first weekend together, hang out, and then go back to their respective regions or states and tell them how great Columbia is and why they should also be joining.
And big news from a college sports standpoint as well coming out on Friday that the NCAA is going to hold a constitutional convention coming up in November, which certainly sets the stage from my standpoint of massive changes in the way that college sports is organized that we've been talking about in the last several days. This seems to be kind of the official way to go about it. I found it hilariously ironic, Patrick, that the NCAA was talking about how they need to modernize things. So what says modernizing more than a constitutional convention?
Throwing it back to the 1700s.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what will go down here, except I think what will come out of it is basically what Mark Emmert said several days, or where we at, I don't know, more than a week ago, when he just kind of threw his hands up and said, yeah, this thing probably needs to be reorganized. And field hockey is not the same as football, and lacrosse isn't the same as wrestling. Well, yeah, we've known this forever. And we saw it last year at this time, where the NCAA clearly had no power over major college football. And now we continue to see steps to kind of separate those entities. And this will be, I think, maybe one of the final ones coming up in November with the Constitutional Convention in the NCAA. We'll discuss more about those ramifications as we move on. But I need to get an expert's opinion here. We don't have a bunch of interviews on this program because I feel like a lot of radio interviews, you're just putting coaches in position to have to say coach speak, and you don't get a whole lot out of it. That's just the natural relationship, I feel like, of radio and coaches interviews or players interviews. But this morning it's a little different because this situation, Kamar Rocker, Vanderbilt star for forever, number 10 overall pick for the New York Mets, not signed yesterday because the Mets found an issue physically, I think, when going through the physical. Now, the Rocker camp, his own agent says there's no problem with him physically. This is where I need to get an expert in on this situation. That's why we're going to talk to former Gamecock pitching coach Skylar Meade and want to catch up with him now that he's taken his first head coaching job over at Troy as well. So we'll do all of that coming up next here. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Hey, we've got a way to help you with that Zoom
There.
work. You know when the mute button is on, connecting gamer, you're listening to 107.5 The Game, and you have no idea. That is awesome.
Yeah, they didn't even make him an offer, right?
Right. Yeah, we also need to have Skylar. We probably need to send everyone that's going to be a guest on this show, just have them have a quick conversation with Skylar about the technical aspect of balancing the stream, video stream link with the phone audio. So he did
He has pulled it off now, right? He knows what to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, we never told him exactly what to do, and he just did it perfectly the first
Figured
time.
it out. Yeah.
Assumed everybody could do it. Not the
I don't know how shows do it where I watch on YouTube and they can just have somebody FaceTime in and that goes out just perfectly like program audio. I don't know how that works.
right. Won't call through, huh?
There he is.
Yeah, Jen. Oh, that's interesting. Our line is busy. Skyler, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, if I just have you guys on my phone on this, does that work fine with sound?
We might have to make it work. I just called our number as well and got that busy signal. We'll get Jen to work on it here.
I think Jen will have to call him.
There's there's like all this crazy access down here. There's like 10,000 blockers on these iPads and computers anyways, so I'll just mention this if that's fine with you guys.
All right, let's see. Jen. Actually, Skylar, you see the private chat? Do you have that option there on the on there?
Let's see. Is it where it says chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mind throwing your number in there, and we might get Jen to give you a call. And
All right.
help it with audio. Jen, our number 404-6100. Apparently, it's just a busy signal. I just called it as well, and Skylar tried, couldn't get through too.
All right. So how do I type in that chat?
Good question. On your phone.
Want me to put it in?
No, you don't want him to say it over the
No,
video.
I will type it into the chat because I'm on my computer.
No, that's what I'm saying, but we can't just say it over the video chat.
I will type it into the private chat. I have his number.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I've called him before from our show. Yeah,
that makes sense. So still same number there, Skylar. Yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay same number. I won't change that ever. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so Patrick's sending that to Jen, and Jen, you think you can call that out to him? So it would work better for us, Skylar, if you just go straight phone. If we got an option,
that's fine.
Appreciate it. Gonna do the rocker stuff with physicals and how that has worked, kind of in your experience. If you're cool with that,
that's fine.
And then what's going down with the new gig, and oh yeah, I know. I wanted to get into what Major League Baseball just kind of did in general with pitchers and the substances and all that mess.
Okay, sounds good.
Sound good?
Awesome. Are you guys?
And do you have until
the number that was?
Do you have until about 6:55?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
That'll work. Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right. Let's see if I can reboot this phone thing because I'm not able to dial out.
Okay. So we might just hang here, Skylar, and try to go through here.
Okay.
Looks like haven't gotten quite to the decorating the office portion of the transition yet.
Hey, there you go.
Okay. Okay. Pictures up there.
One of my assistants is already in here with me.
Whoa. Impressive.
Yeah. This looks out to the field. You can't see because it's dark here, but.
Because you're Central Time too, right?
Best time zone.
Woo! What time are you getting your assistant in every morning, man?
I run a tough ship, you know.
No kidding. Wow.
No, we got multiple recruits in today, so gonna get our workout in early and then knock out recruits for about 8 hours.
If you tell me you've already gotten your workout in, I'm gonna feel like the laziest man in the history of the world.
I would be lying to you if I told you
Okay.
I already got it in.
That makes you feel a little better. Yeah, anything you want to touch on before we get done on the air there?
No, it's
Okay.
been a busy 17 days. I'll tell you that much.
I bet, man. What's up, Jim?
Trying to figure out what a password might be.
Cool. We got the firewalls going into our place too that we have no idea how to get through.
We're trying to compete with you down here for sure.
Okay, Jen. So can we do Skylar just through the video stream through the computer?
Yeah.
We can just do all of our audio through there if you want to.
There's no headsets in this.
Right. Just pop us up on the computer through the live stream.
Okay, I've got to log into it. I'm on my iPad, not my computer. All right.
So just give me a thumbs up when that's ready to roll, okay?
Go through it.
Kumar Rocker, not just one of the best college baseball pitchers, certainly one of the most recognizable, doing it on the biggest stage, doing it the most dramatically with a no-hitter there in postseason play his freshman season, having a famous father in Tracy Rocker, former big-time college football player. We know him from Gamecock football as being a former Will Muschamp assistant who now moved to Auburn real quickly and then hopped to the NFL last year. So a lot attached to the Rocker name. And then doing it on the biggest stage, helping Vanderbilt win its first national championship, and then almost helping them win a second one, but losing what would turn out to be the decisive game of the College World Series this year to Mississippi State. 10th overall pick to the New York Mets. And then yesterday there was a 5 p.m. deadline to sign draft picks. He went unsigned. It wasn't a money thing. It looks like it was a physical thing where something on the physical showed up that the New York Mets did not like. And now, as you would expect, as I expect anyway, Kumar Rocker, his agent, putting out there's nothing wrong with him physically. He's ready to go. So when something like this happens, I need to get certainly much more of an expert opinion than I have trying to diagnose this on my own. And Patrick and I can just speculate as to what it is. So that's why we're going to former Gamecock pitching coach Skylar Meade right now, who's up early already in his office over there, the new office, but 17 days in at Troy. Skylar, thanks for joining us this morning, and apologize for the technical difficulties. That's why you're hearing a little bit of an echo. I'm guessing maybe if you turn off your
No, I got it.
we'll see how that. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe we won't. Skylar, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing well and glad to have an expert opinion. What do you make? Let me just get out of the way here, especially with the weird echo of this Kumar Rocker situation.
Well, I think it's unfortunate, just to the masses, that Kumar's not going to start his journey, because he's obviously been the face, at least for me, the face of college baseball probably last 3 years there at Vanderbilt, a tremendous pitcher, and I still think he'll be a tremendous pitcher in the big leagues. There's a lot of levels to the whole thing. He's with the Boris people, so there can always be some tough negotiations there. And, he didn't take a physical through the MLB. And, I think the Mets were probably uncomfortable with some things. Obviously, Boris and Kumar and them were uncomfortable with some things, which I don't pretend to be in their meetings to know exactly what they wanted. You can do the math and figure out through their draft what they wanted, which was, probably about $6 million. And so it seemed as if the Mets weren't comfortable with the information they had and what those guys were wanting. And so they came to a stalemate, and it seems like Kumar will not be either joining back with Vandy or playing pro ball. I just think it's unfortunate that it works like this. And I tell people all the time, the one negative about the MLB draft is it's nothing like the NFL, NBA, and other drafts. It's not based upon talent, and that's where you get picked. There's a lot of levels to it. How much money are you going to sign for? Are you willing to sign for? I just think it kind of sucks that it happened this way. It's rare it happens this way. I think it's the fourth time in 10 years that you've seen it got picked this high, not go. But you know what? Kumar will be fine. Even if there was something wrong with him, he'll get mended back to health, and he'll end up having a heck of a career.
Well, did you see anything mechanical with him? Like I keep hearing the term inverted W. Do you know what that means? And do you know if that's a problem, or because he has had lots of injuries in the past, and I've heard people speculating that it's something with his mechanics.
Well, he does have a bit of a funky release, and I mean, without looking at his still shots right now, I mean, I know he does have a little bit of that inverted. Mark Pryor was kind of the guy back in the day that set off that whole inverted W thing, where people realized if your hand is below your elbow or shoulder at foot strike, then you might be in a problematic position. But the thing with Kumar that I think people went to was during the year he had a lot of velocity fluctuations. He's 93, 96 against us in March at South Carolina, and then you looked at him the next week at Missouri, he was 80 at 91, then he fluctuated up, fluctuated down. Do I really think there's anything wrong with him? No, but I'm sure, like a lot of guys, maybe he had to grind through each week to get back for that start for him on Fridays. But I don't think there was as much, maybe mechanically, at least to the eye, that was causing an issue. Now, maybe he had things that we don't know. Only the walls of Vanderbilt know how hard it was for him each week to get ready to pitch.
He's Skylar Meade, former Gamecock pitching coach, now new Troy head baseball coach. Skylar, wondering what could the Mets have found? Shoulder, elbow, what's the deal? I mean, I know we're completely speculating here. Maybe in your experience, what have some pro teams found that have been issues that college teams didn't have?
Well, I think that's a great question. It's specific to Kumar. I don't know. Obviously, it would probably be one of those two things that you mentioned. But here, I'll give you an experience that I had years ago. We had a kid named Josh Miller at Eastern Illinois that was a surefire top, probably 3-4 round pick. Made it to AAA, big 6'5", 235-pound horse. And I remember getting a call right before the draft, and a scout who was very trusted with me said, "Hey, just a heads up, about half the teams or more, they're medicaling your guy based upon some things with the shoulder." I was like, "What do you mean they're medicaling him? He came back, he pitched all year, he missed like one start." But some teams felt there were things in his medical that were going to be precursors to potential future injury, and that ended up, hurting that kid in that draft, and he ended up falling to the 13th round. And so you see that happen a lot. I mean, there's players all the time that either refuse the medicals or there's something in a medical. Maybe sometimes it has nothing to do with an arm. Maybe it's a back. Maybe it's something very random that we don't even know about. And so I understand if a team's making a massive investment in you, I understand the fear in that. I still think we, to an extent, probably even do that at the collegiate level a little bit if we know about somebody having a history of injuries. So I understand the concept. To the specifics of Kumar, I don't know what it is they think they know or that they think is going to happen. The only thing I do lean on in this day and age is we're pretty good in the world of arm recovery or surgeries and stuff like that. And most times when people have something done, they tend to come back as good as new.
Were you surprised he's not going back to Vandy? What does he do now for the next year?
I would envision that he'll probably just train. There's nothing left for him to do at Vanderbilt, if there is an issue, which once again, I don't know if there is, but it doesn't surprise me. He can train and be totally prepared to go into the 22 draft, and he'll still get good money and still be probably in big leagues I think in the fairly near future. I think the only thing that, and I was reading up on this a little bit last night, was just that, he can't, obviously he's got a 12-month window there where, I think the Mets have some power and some limitations on what he can and cannot do. But I don't think he's going to go to Japan. I don't think he's going to do any of that. I think he'll just train for the next year.
Former Gamecock pitching coach Skylar Meade joining us here, and appreciate all the expertise on the pitching side. Well, what about your last 17 days and now being the head coach for the first time over at Troy?
Well, it's been certainly a whirlwind, a great whirlwind, just in terms of getting here, getting going, trying to get all your ducks in a row, make sure you didn't forget things, which I'm sure that we do. But it's been awesome, and it's been great too, just, catching up with some South Carolina people, which it feels odd to say, now my former home, because I'm going to miss, all those guys and the coaching staff. And we had such a fun coaching staff to be around, and golly, especially this last year, what a great team we had. So, but I've been in communication with those guys a lot, and I'm going to miss them and track them, and it's not going to change. I'm still a Gamecock, and I will follow all the guys that are there, the ones that are in now that we recruited. I'll be, very excited to see how they do down the road. But it's been awesome for myself and our family, and just kind of getting going down here and becoming a head coach.
A true pro, as always. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of success. We appreciate all your help that you gave us on this show through the years, and wish you all the success of the world over at Troy, Scott.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on again. Hopefully this isn't the last time.
Sounds good to us for sure. Skyler Meek, former Gamecock pitching coach, a rare voice of expertise on this program. Appreciate having Skyler, and hope that I know that helps me out moving forward with this program. We'll see how we move it forward this morning, especially without Bill. Starting your week here on the early game, we appreciate that. You're listening to 107.5 The Game, Hour 2 on the way. Hey, thanks, man.
Hey, no problem.
Appreciate you working through the technical issues, especially. Hope that wasn't too bad on your end.
I was, well, it's funny. I knew there would be some weirdness even on our end down here, so it's just a bad combo that I don't pretend to know technology that much. So I was like trying to go through these links. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
We'll knock it out. What's that? Yeah, man. Getting close to football season this way, so we're doing good this way.
That's good. That's good. Patrick, I like that mustache, by the way, brother.
Thank you. I need to shave around everything else with it, though.
I'll tell you what. I don't know if Tim's giving you any props on it, but it looks good.
Yeah, the first time. I can't give him too much of the big head. And he had the cowboy hat going on Friday. He's getting way too big for the britches over there.
We had a cowboy on the show. We got, 2 months from today is Troy in South Carolina, right? Where you gonna be?
Yeah.
I imagine you'll be back at Williams-Brice for it, maybe? You'll be in the middle of fall ball.
Here's the only thing. We're supposed to move down here in Troy on October 1st. My family's in South Carolina for the next 2 months. So the timing might be kind of crappy. So we'll have to see how we'll do that.
I hear you, man.
So you just right off campus? You like in an apartment right off the campus then?
Right now I'm just in a hotel right on the edge of campus.
Hotel. Free breakfast every day?
Well, I'm
too early
there when the breakfast gets going, so I'm sure it probably does, but yeah, it's long. Well, long days right now, but
I know you got the busy one here too. Thanks for fitting us in. We appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, don't make the last time, all right?
For sure. Tell that assistant to ask for a raise too. I hope you can hear me. 5:57. Good guy.
Don't get my guess too early.
All right.
An hour earlier.
See you, man.
Jeez. It's 5:57 there. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Jen, thanks for making that happen. I know it wasn't the easiest way to do it.
No, it just took a second to figure it all out.
So
it sounded like if our connection was better, that would have worked out very well. It was just our connection wasn't great on here either.
You know what the deal is with the phone?
No, and I tried to reboot, and of course, we have to have a password, and that hasn't been provided us, so I'll be emailing to find out what that is. Continued stupidity. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's all good. Happy Monday, everybody.
I'll make a call.
Do you want me to email? Or?
No, I'll call right now.
Okay. Rebooting's the only thing I know to do,
Right.
And Gamecock Larry's birthday was yesterday. He's 87 now. And nobody's here to talk to. It's a sad tale.
Ed is asking where you need a password, Jen?
The call screener computer.
Just the call screener computer over there. That one that's on the left. The one that she rebooted.
It says CAE call screener.
Jen? Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
It just says CAE call screener.
CAE call screen, she says, is what she's seeing.
Just trying to log into the computer or get into the software.
Trying to log into the computer or get into this specific software, he's asking.
I think the computer itself, because I was trying to reboot since the phones aren't working.
Just the computer.
All right.
I'm sure everybody's
so-
excited to hear all this.
I'm producing next, so
Okay, Jen, I just put that in the chat.
Okay.
Can you try it while we have Ed here? I'm sure it works. Just try it. And I don't think we broadcast that. No, they actually couldn't get through on the phone now. Just got it busy.
It appears that is incorrect.
And she said that was incorrect, the password that she used.
I tried twice.
She tried twice.
oh man.
So I was saying a second ago when Tim was off, I was like, Gamecock Larry's birthday was yesterday.
Got another one for you
Okay.
to try.
Score.
Thank you. Yeah, that last one worked. Patrick, you mind dialing the 404-6100 number?
I'm trying to dial out right now.
Sorry, Jen's got it. Never mind, Patrick. So Jen's testing it right now.
It's not.
Busy.
Good to try both directions. Yeah, not
Yeah.
working. For any of the live streams, like, yeah, this is great. This is the great shit. It's more- Nothing either way.
All right.
There's a funky script.
Oh man, I got to produce the afternoon show today too, and Jay always books like 5 guests.
I'm going to send a note to Tim and Ed.
Intro's up. I told him to hit your cell phone, Jen.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys, are up.
Rolling into hour number 2. Kumar Rocker will not be a New York Met after all. Simone Biles will compete again in the Tokyo Olympics. And Team USA Women's Soccer is not going to win a gold medal. And yet Patrick isn't too bummed this morning because he didn't watch it.
And the US men won.
Oh, okay. Well, that's so weird to me too, because they're not in the Olympics, correct?
No.
They didn't make the Olympics. Why would the Gold Cup be at the same time as the Olympics? And I guess the easy answer there is that the Olympics were supposed to be going on now, but the Gold Cup was. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, and the Olympics are for under 23-year-olds. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
that's just on the men's side?
For men, yeah. I don't know why it's different. Doesn't make
Why is
any
it gotta
sense
be
to me. You can have 23-year-olds, under 23-year-olds, and you can have 3 like above 23-year-olds. So
Old dudes?
yeah, some teams didn't even bother sending any. Like some great clubs didn't even bother sending. Like I don't think the Spanish sent any over 23-year-olds. I think they just sent all young guys. That other countries just don't care about it. It's really bizarre. The Olympics, soccer in the Olympics, men's soccer in the Olympics has always confused me. So, but the Gold Cup is a big deal. I mean, it's right. It's like this is that time of year for those continental tournaments because the Euros were just a couple weeks ago. The Copa America was just a couple weeks ago, and the Gold Cup got going right as those ended. So, and the Africa Cup of Nations was a couple weeks ago as well.
Okay, so what stood out to you? Did you get into much Olympics over the weekend? I I did not get into much at all. Just the fact that track and field started, I think showed my kids water polo for the first time,
Yeah.
and tried to convince them that they should start doing that in the pool. Try to get out as much energy as possible.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoy watching track, but watching this guy, I can't remember what his name was, but he was an Italian, win the 100 meters, win gold in the 100 meters, and watching all these swimming, like Caleb Dressel has now joined Phelps and Mark Spitz as the only American swimmer to win 5 gold medals in a single Olympics. So looks like he's the next great one for us. But watching track get going and swimming wrap up, I was thinking about it. And I mean, this is the first Olympics that I can really remember being invested in with no Phelps and no Bolt. And those two were like the stars of the Olympics. They were the superstars of their sports, greatest of all time in each of their respective sports. And they were always a draw. Like whenever Michael Phelps was swimming, everyone knew and everyone made sure to be in front of their TV. Whenever Bolt was running, whether it was 100, 200, 400, or the relays, everyone was in front of their TV because you wanted to watch the world's fastest man. And he had that. I mean, Bolt just probably even more so than Phelps had just that superstar quality where he's always dancing, doing his little thing at the starting blocks. And so I've been investing, but I'm just kind of watching whatever. There hasn't been one particular event that I'm saying at this time on this day, I'm going to tune in and I'm going to watch Usain Bolt run or I'm going to watch Michael Phelps swim. I haven't even done that for Caleb Dressel, and he looks like he's as good as it gets. Katie Ledecky kind of had that, where I looked at her Instagram and saw the times that she was racing and tried to make sure I was tuned in for those. But yeah, I think this Olympics is kind of lacking in the superstar category for me.
Well, it's tough too because it's been postponed a year, and also the Olympics that was to inherit it from Phelps, Usain Bolt, was Simone Biles, and then you had the situation with her that now it looks like is going to end back competing, and tomorrow the balance beam final at the Olympics is going to include Simone Biles. At USA Gymnastics, I guess, put out a tweet today about that already. So it's that could help kind of bring it back around. I think Katie Ledecky was kind of 1B in the plan of marketing athletes and obviously having some Olympic pedigree coming in.
Yeah, I also think just for the casual fan that doesn't know the sport, it's so easy to just watch a race because anyone can watch a race and say, yeah, he just won. But for me, watching gymnastics, there are times where everyone will go and I'll be like, wow, that was all incredible. I don't know who was the best. But there's no debating when someone just wins a race.
Oh, I do need to point out maybe the one most significant moment I will take from this Olympics was watching diving, just the springboard diving. This was on Saturday, and there was a Canadian diver. This is women's diving. Canadian diver that was set to qualify. I think the top 12 were qualifying, so this was part of the qualifying round. And she had been in maybe one of the top 2 or 3, and then had dropped down kind of to the middle of the pack. And I guess they do 5 dives, and basically take kind of the aggregate score there. And you got to be consistently good to get your way through the finals. And she was on her 5th one, and she just kind of needed a solid dive, and something happened, and it looked like a scene out of a movie where she just hit the board and didn't do anything and just kind of jumped in feet first, got a 0. Never seen it before in my life. I don't know whatever happened, the takeoff or whatever. You know how they bounce usually a couple of times on the spring.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, her feet got messed up. I also saw that a little bit in gymnastics last night in the vault. It was the other American who didn't win the silver medal, obviously. I think it was the first time, too, that 2 American gymnasts were in the finals since '96 together. But I think Jade was her first name and just got her steps messed up. And for kind of like you're talking about, Patrick, she ended up doing, I think, like a back handspring flip and nailed it. But I think she was supposed to do at least 1.5 or 2 or whatever. And it was just catastrophic, right, to everyone watching or to the expert watching. And me and my kids were like, what was wrong? Like, she did it.
Looked great, yeah.
Right, what was the problem? My 8-year-old and 6-year-old were thoroughly confused, not much more confused than I was. But just shows you how, even on the biggest stage, man, stuff can happen. To me, I mentioned it in hour number 1, but I think it's ultimately a great chance for this Simone Biles conversation to continue and to be filled out as fully as possible with her returning for one final individual event here. And I know the conversation continued over the weekend. We had a texter, Daryl, hit us up over the weekend, said he was amazed at the vitriol aimed to Biles. I know that was part of the immediate reaction. Certainly it didn't sit well with me that out of the team competition because of mental health, saying she was stressed out. When I first heard about it, I think the more I've learned and filled out her story for sure, and then where she kind of was at. The case of the twisties that you mentioned in hour number one, I've never heard of before. So again, to weigh in with some kind of expert opinion as one of the greatest gymnasts of all time, if not the greatest gymnast of all time, just couldn't do it anymore. I mentioned in hour number one, read an opinion piece in the Washington Post from Dominique Dawes, a former Olympic champion, who mentioned that she had a breakdown going into Olympic Games and was just barely able to get through it. And just kind of the brutal way that U.S. gymnastics was set up for her and her experience. Obviously, the Larry Nassar implications and all of that as well. And Simone Biles has been affected by that too. I'm hopeful that kind of what Michael Phelps said watching this, his big takeaway was he hopes this situation kind of shines a huge spotlight on mental health issues and can help educate and kind of evolve that conversation and that situation in our country. I'm hopeful that's what the Simone Biles situation will be as well, and might even end up with a happy ending. That I think if you take anything other than good for her overcoming this, and who are we to kind of judge her in her shoes? And again, this is not to say that I can teach my kids, hey, if you're stressed out, then you shouldn't play a team sport. It's not that black and white. It's not that simple in this situation, especially having heard about this case of the twisties and knowing that the physical danger that can happen in gymnastics, especially when you're on the vault, and especially for Simone Biles at the heights that she's taken it that no one has ever done.
Yeah, it would have been so much more simple if it was just a basketball player that just couldn't hit a shot, or a baseball player with the yips, because that really did add a whole other element. That's just what the Olympics is, where we all pretend like we're experts in a sport for 3 weeks or a month at a time, however long the Olympics is. So it's a perfect example of that. But I think, yeah, no matter what, this is going to have a happy ending unless she drops out again from the balance beam. But if she just goes and competes, it doesn't matter if she wins a gold. She doesn't need another gold medal. She's got a bunch of them. As long as she goes out there, does her routine, shows that she's okay and she's able to power through it, that would be the ultimate lesson, I think, for everyone. And I think that would be something that everyone could probably agree was a happy ending overall.
He's Patrick Perrette. I'm Tim Hill. Jen Jensen producing in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Bill Gunter had a day off this morning. Glad you're a part of the program. You can text us at 803-404-6100. Would love to get your opinions this year. Chris says, I can't say I've watched a single minute of the Olympics this year. I get it if you're from that perspective. Olympic horse dancing, please discuss. The horse pick the music. Is that your dressage? Is that what Ryan from Lexington's talking about over there, Patrick?
Oh, yeah. The guy calling it is Randy Moss, the horse racing guy, and he said that they're just playing random music in the background, and it has nothing to do with the horses.
The actual
He's like, if
routine
it
or
seems
whatever.
like the horse is dancing to this music, it's not. Okay. Why is it on that? I just don't understand. It's the weirdest event of all time.
Yeah, I don't understand anything about that. Anonymous texter hit us up, said water polo is wild. You have to be in incredible shape to compete in that. Absolutely. No doubt about it. If you wanted to see all of us drown on the show, that would be a payoff on a Wager Wednesday, that you just have to compete in water polo at all. And we would just be on the side of the pool. At least I would be on the side of the pool, just heaving in air and say, no more. I can't do it anymore. A former Gamecock in the big leagues. Heck of a day yesterday. Maybe more details on that. Talk about this Kumar Rocker situation as well, where the Mets do not sign the former Vanderbilt standout. The physical issues that the agent of Kumar Rocker says not there. Weird, for sure. Kind of like this show. It's the early game. It's 107.5. Oh man.
Oh yeah, these wrestlers are 286 pounds.
What's that?
These guys are 286 pounds wrestling. One from Iran and one from Turkey.
That's just broken bones waiting to happen. Huh?
I mean, they're not 286 pounds and jacked either.
Right. They're true heavyweights.
Yeah. That is just so, look how heavy is Kamaru?
Thanks, Jen. So nothing new there on the phone situation.
No, and I'm going to go test the ones in the different cubes just to make sure that it's studio or everything. So as soon as I get out of the traffic, I'll go do that.
Gotcha. So if you're into the gymnastics and have to watch it time delayed or want to watch it time delayed, mute your radio right now or your computer, your live stream. Apparently the one American I was talking about who missed that vault, Jade Carey, just won gold in the floor routine. Is that what I got?
Who was it?
Jade Carey. I think her name. Right from Lexington's text. Patrick just ruined my day. I really wanted the horse to be dancing to that music. Not sure I believe that answer. That horse heard the beat drop.
They did look spot on. They really did. So is Ed gonna come in and fix the phones today, or
Yes.
because Jay books guests for like
Here's
2 to an hour?
Right. I will make sure he knows that it's very important that the phones are working. And I will communicate one way or the other how that is internalized and what action may or may not be taken.
Yeah, because Jen did just text Pearson, Dave, and I, but I am Pearson today.
Got it. But you just need to know where that password is in case he needs it sometime.
Yeah. Right. This Turkish guy is dominating.
The Turkish heavyweight wrestler.
Yeah, I don't understand wrestling at all.
That's really difficult. It is definitely not WWE, huh?
Yeah, like why this guy just got a point, I have no idea. And then why the guy just lays down and the other guy starts on top of him, I have no idea. It just
Does the ref have one color wristband on one arm and one color wristband on the other one, and that's how he shows up points?
looks like it, yep. Yeah, he has a red and a blue wristband. He just put up both of his arms.
That's how he signifies points, right? And I think you can get a 1 point or a 2 point deal depending on like the severity of the move.
Yeah.
This is going back to my PE class education in 1994, maybe 92.
I was watching a little bit with my girlfriend last night, and she was the wrestling manager in high school. She was like, "Oh yeah, 2 point takedown." I was like, "What? How did you? I don't know what you're talking about." He was like, "Yeah, I used to keep score."
He's good. I would think that would be about the easiest thing to keep scoring. It's just either 2 or 1. But I guess that's kind of like basketball.
I guess so. If I was asked to score a baseball game for $1 million, I would not be able to do it.
That is how I will end any of our baseball discussions if we're disagreeing.
You can't even score a baseball game.
That's
I've never attempted to.
Write down how you score. Ground ball, base hit, left field, runner thrown out at second base trying to make a single into the double.
Oh, no way. I mean, I like know the numbers in my head, but I have to actually draw it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Jim would like to come back I'll do a liner and then like to do the Schrock audio, please.
Do you think every baseball commentator scores the game while he's calling the game?
Yes.
Okay, so straight to it, or are you gonna do a promo? You
I'll
said
do
you
a liner first.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was communicating with Ed. All right, guys, we're up.
No Bill today, by the way. He's taking the day off. Patrick and Jen alongside me, Tim Hill. Wanted to give you the heads up. This Thursday, going to have a grand opening. Plenty of chances for you to get free stuff out at 495 Old Sandy Run Road in Gaston off exit I-125 on I-26. That's Palmetto Express. Brand new truck stop out there. Grand opening going down. Noon to 4 is the time to be out there especially. There'll be a blood drive in conjunction with the grand opening where they'll be giving away plenty of free stuff, including who knows what other kind of fun stuff we'll have to give away. But I know a bunch of free food and drinks will be available out at the Palmetto Express Kitchen. And you can also check out all the stuff they might have for your tailgating needs, especially if you're going that way to Williams-Brice on a Saturday morning, afternoon. Might be a great place to get everything that you need at the Palmetto Express out in Gaston, 495 Old Sandy Run Road. Again, the halftime show live on location this Thursday afternoon. Troy mentioned it in the live chat on the video stream a little while ago on YouTube. I wanted to let you hear how it sounded yesterday. Former Gamecock Max Schrock with the Cincinnati Reds filling in for Joey Votto, and then does something that Votto had never even done yesterday. Schrock also a home run in that ball game, couple of RBI, 3 runs scored, impressive stuff. He kind of headlines for me, Patrick, the Chad Holbrook era for Gamecock baseball, a guy who was supremely talented, battled some injuries, never made it to the College World Series, but clearly a very talented baseball player, and now 5 for 5 day in the big leagues, man. That is no fluke, and will be interesting to continue to follow Schrock's career, who has started with the Nationals, I believe it was, in professional baseball, went over to the Cardinals for a little while, now with the Cincinnati Reds, has bounced around, and that means you have value in Major League Baseball if you're jumping on with several different clubs.
Yeah, I'm looking at his just career stats right now. It looks like last year he played 11 games in St. Louis, and then
one more time there, Patrick didn't quite get that high.
Yeah, it looks like I'm looking at his stats, and it looks like last year he got his first chance in the MLB. Played 11 games with the Cardinals, and then this year he's gotten 20 games with the Reds. So, I mean, he's got 14 hits. He's on base percentage is 378. So I don't know. I guess he's like, is this the time where you kind of turn the corner? I guess baseball is so weird. A lot of guys don't make it into the show until they're 25, 26, and then just can become everyday players at that point. I guess that's kind of the trajectory he's on.
Well, you can go even later than that. I think it took Whit Merrifield maybe up to 28 or so to get there. It took a lot of years for him, and I think the theory was he just never quite did any one thing well enough to automatically shoot up the system, and just to kind of be a blinking sign that he was definitely a major leaguer, but just the consistency and doing everything well enough obviously has now made him a 2-time All-Star. I believe it was Gamecock play-by-play man Derek Scott put out the tweet yesterday that's all Schrock needs is an opportunity like Whit Merrifield or Christian Walker have kind of earned in their respective organizations, and then you'll see more success. We'll see if Max Schrock can continue to take advantage of his opportunities like yesterday. Tremendous day, 5 for 5.
I guess this is another old rookie. I just looked up this kid's age, but did you see maybe 2 days ago, I think 2 nights ago maybe, this guy for the White Sox, Sebi Zavala, is the first person to ever hit his first 3 home runs all in the same game. He's never hit a home run in the majors and hit all 3 in the same game.
I did see that alert go by on my phone. That's a pretty solid note. Huh? First 3 innings all in one game. Baseball's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But for a guy like Schrock and plenty others, especially if your team isn't necessarily in the postseason hunt this time of year, now's the time where you can make a career for yourself. And he's got a chance to do it for sure. And a bunch of other guys will, as baseball, it shakes out differently for a bunch of different organizations. A bunch of Mets fans are really bummed this morning because Kumar Rocker did not join the organization. And typically it's relatively simple to see why. Obviously, the Mets saw something on the physical with Kumar Rocker that they didn't like. And like Skylar Meade kind of referred to a little earlier when we had the former Gamecock pitching coach on, it could be it has to be something either in the shoulder or elbow that projects future injury. And like you were saying, Patrick, you're seeing it with Steven Strasburg now, right? Who has, I forget what the letter stand for. The TOC deal is kind of
I know the T is thoracic.
Right. It's a bad deal that can end careers. And Matt Harvey might be the most famous guy. And I think he even bounced back over the weekend and threw some good baseball. But it's kind of like the new Tommy John. I think when I was your age, Patrick, if you got Tommy John surgery, you're in big trouble. Your career was. Now it's looked at as almost a benefit to your career, and you want to have it as early as possible because you're going to come back stronger. And we saw that with Clark Schmidt from a Gamecock standpoint. Didn't keep him, although it knocked him out of his Carolina career, it didn't keep him from being a first-round draft pick with the New York Yankees. It seems like this TOC thing is where Tommy John surgery was maybe 20, 25, 30 years ago, where it's an automatic red flag for an organization. Clearly, it was a big enough red flag for the Mets not to go after one of the best college, or not to sign one of the best college pitchers that there has ever been in Kumar Rocker.
Yeah, the Tommy John I feel like is the equivalent of the ACL now, because that used to be a career ender, and then the TFC might be like the Achilles, because the Achilles is still a big deal. But with the Rocker thing, I guess I haven't really seen it or paid attention, so I didn't know that was the deal. I don't know how. I think it's wild that the Mets can just not make him an offer, and then it's just like, yeah, sorry, you can't be in the MLB for another year. Like, if they decide not even to extend an offer, he can't just go sign with another team. He's just stuck in limbo for a year. I don't really know that's fair.
Well, the problem would be, what about the other side of that thing? They do offer, right?
Sure.
He doesn't like the number. And he's like, no, I'm just going to wait till tomorrow and sign with another team and get my number. Then the draft basically has no meaning. So it's tricky both ways. I hear you in this situation, really weird and interesting to hear that Skylar Meade doesn't think he'll go to Japan or another professional league where you could presumably go and immediately start making money, but just train for the next year, not go back to Vanderbilt where he's basically done everything a college pitcher could do. I would think also your mileage on your arm there that already has a big question mark from a professional standpoint would be the reasoning for that decision not to return to college baseball and just to kind of sit pat now for the next year. That's
happening no matter what?
Sure. What do you mean?
No matter what, it's another year without professional baseball that there's going to be miles on his arm. And he's 21 years old. By the time he gets drafted now, he'll be 22. It's just another year left of young. I guess it doesn't really matter until you get into your 20, 25, your prime or whatever. But no matter what, if he's not going to MLB, it's another year of wasted mileage, right?
But what I'm saying is that mileage can be kept at a minimum as opposed to pitching a normal starting. He's a 100+ inning kind of guy at Vanderbilt in his career, adding another 100 innings on top of that, and then trying to convince professional organizations, hey, the arm's good to go. That doesn't seem to make a ton of sense for him.
It definitely stinks for him because now it's definitely another year without him getting paid millions of dollars. And so now he's going to have to hire somebody or a company or something what does training for a year even mean? Like, you throw long toss every day, but you don't actually throw pitches, or like what is training for a baseball pitcher who's not going to be pitching in actual games even look like for a year?
It's a good question because it doesn't happen often, right? But what I would think it would mean is that you stay physically in shape, especially, the lower body is so important for pitchers, and a Rocker is such a specimen in that way, such a strong dude that you'll continue to get stronger in that way, just traditional weightlifting, conditioning, and all of that. And then I'm sure there will be a routine that gets publicized to all the professional organizations out there. Here is what Kumar Rocker has been doing for the last year to make sure he's ready to go for your organization. It does include, I would imagine, some long toss, bullpen tight sessions, but that pitch count, I would imagine, wouldn't be very high, nowhere close to the 110, 15 pitches that he would throw at Vanderbilt. For any of you out there thinking that Vanderbilt overused him, or maybe this is a result of him going on 3 days rest at the College World Series, I think that's a bit of a stretch. But there's certainly, I get why you would jump immediately there, especially after what's gone down yesterday. A surprise, I think, Kumar Rocker not joining the New York Mets organization as an overall pick. There was a Florida guy in the second round as well, also didn't sign. It looks like he's going to be headed back and pitch for the Gators next year.
Had you seen or heard anything even about him since he was drafted? I think I saw something from Jeff Passan earlier in the day that said, yeah, there's a 5 p.m. deadline and it doesn't look like they're going to get it done. I had not heard a single thing about the Mets are concerned with something that popped up on his medical and that's looking like he's not going to end up signing. And it all came as news at once to me. Like, yeah, he's not signing, he's not going back to Vanderbilt, and he's going to be in the 2022 draft. I was shocked by that.
Well, that's the thing with the baseball draft having the slot value relatively recently, that takes a lot of the drama out of it. Like, here's the slot value. You're either going to be offered that for sure, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but typically it works out for these big-time draft picks. And now, from a PR standpoint, the Mets are kind of out on a limb. If Kumar Rocker goes on to have a good career with another organization, their fans are going to hate him, right? And if he doesn't go on, then they'll say, well, they just did their job and they shouldn't have drafted him. So they're kind of they're not in a good way, one way or another, I feel like, in this. And unfortunately for one of the best college pitchers that we've seen, he's not going to be playing now in front of us for at least who knows how long now. It won't be eligible to play for a professional organization until after next year's draft.
Mets fans are really going through it with this too. Because did you see Steve Cohen's tweet basically saying college draft MLB draft picks usually make 5 times their investment, and he said, like, I don't pass on investments that I think can make me money. Basically saying, yeah, this kid's not a good investment. Just kind of taking shots at Rocker, and they didn't even offer him a contract. It would be one thing if they said, we're going to give you this, your slot value, and he said, no, I want more. But it's wild to draft a kid, and then whatever it is so drastic, whatever comes up is so drastic that you can't even offer him a contract, but nothing came up in the pre-draft process that led you to believe that there might be something wrong.
Well, and then they have Rocker in his camp saying there's nothing wrong physically.
Right.
So it's just a bit of a PR nightmare. At least Mets fans can take some comfort that they're still first in the division. The Braves last check 4 games back, maybe 4.5 or 5 this morning after losing 2-1 yesterday to Milwaukee Brewers.
And Javi Baez hit a homer in his first game. And Chris Bryant hit a homer in his first game. And Anthony Rizzo hit homers in both of his first 2 games.
And Jen is now completely grizzled for the rest of the show.
It was insane. I've never seen anything like that. All 3 of them all hit home runs in their first games.
We'll see if Jen can bounce back for the second half of the show. Coming up next, it's the early game here on 107.5. Hey, I'm sitting in a folding chair right now. I wanted to tell you guys. It's a little bit better than that rocking chair that I had on the beach on vacation a while ago, but it is certainly not the best I can do. There's a reason that you have the uncomfortable chair during the radio show. It keeps me on my toes, I feel like. If you're looking, though, for a very comfortable chair in your house, I recommend you head over to Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. It's out near the airport, towards the back there. Daniel and June Clark have been serving the Midlands for 25 years. They're known for the 3 Bs: best furniture, best service, and best price. And here's what you need to know when you go into Daniel's is that you're going to be treated like a member of the family. You're not just going to be another customer, another nameless, faceless kind of number customer in a big box store. Daniel's is in this area. They're going to deliver it to you free if you live within 20 miles of the store out there. They're near the airport. And you can just go hang out, man. Go sit in more than their 50 recliners they have on the showroom floor. And if you like the one you're sitting in, you can have that specific one. It's not complicated, and Daniels knows they want to not just find your piece of furniture this time, they want to have you as a customer for years to come. And that's the approach they take with their customers. It's why I'm happy to recommend that you go to Daniels Fine Furniture and Bedding, no matter what you're looking for, but especially if you're looking for that motion furniture. That's their specialty. The recliners, the reclining sofas, the leather gallery in Daniels is tremendous. I recommend you go see them. Tell them that I sent you here and you heard about them on 107.5 The Game. 3911 Edmond Highway in West Columbia at the back of the airport, Highway 302 and Dunbar Road. When it's time to save, it's time for Daniels Fine Furniture and Bedding. Well, that looks like a new cup there, Patrick.
Not new, but it's been in my closet for a while.
Is that a Maryland? Even your cups have the Maryland. Man, it's Texas #1. I think Maryland might be #2. South Carolina's up there as well as far as just state branding.
I think Maryland might be #1.
No, Texas, man. Don't mess with it. Don't even try.
Yeah, but not everybody has the star on everything. Every person from Maryland, if you see a car on the USC campus with a Maryland license plate, it's going to have the Maryland state flag in the shape of a crab.
Jen, this is not an Illinois thing, is it? A North Carolina thing.
No, it's definitely a Maryland thing.
I'll give them #2, Patrick. I'll give it Texas, Maryland, South Carolina in my lifetime. It has helped that I've lived in Texas and South Carolina, so maybe I'm a little biased.
Yeah. I mean, Texans have more state pride than Marylanders. It's just Marylanders love to show off the flag.
It
Texans
definitely
have the most pride.
It has a more international look to it. You know, it doesn't seem like an American.
Yeah, I mean, we have the best flag. That's just we got to show it off. It's the crests of Lord Baltimore and Charles Carroll family crest, I think. Yeah.
There you go. Well, and that's really all you have to hang your hat on, because pretty much crime after that.
I'm surprised in my general eyesight right now, I only have one Maryland flag
Oh, really?
embroidered thing.
Craig, the video, Jaheim Bell and Quandre White commentating on the golf course. They hopped on our group as well. I think their commentary might have been a little too harsh to make the video.
Huh.
There might have been a lime green ball, and they were not impressed.
Who had a lime green ball?
Who would you guess in my group had a lime green ball, sir?
Yuva?
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I'd say it was a pretty good guess.
I'm surprised he doesn't have golf balls that have biscuit coloring.
I'd be impressed if he had the Bojangles logo on them.
Exactly.
Taking them out like candy. Here you go.
Exactly.
Have Bojangles ball.
Did his bag have his name on it?
Not that I noticed.
I'm actually very surprised at the lack of Maryland flag things in this room. I don't think I have any.
Wow, that's pretty sad.
My couch pillow downstairs though is that exact logo.
Is it? Yeah. I will say it is a neat looking logo. It's just because it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Or the flag.
I think the Terps kind of put it on the national map when it was probably 10 to 15, maybe 10 years ago, the first day they came out with the full Maryland flag helmets.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of a new. And now they've just fully gone all in on Maryland flag everything.
Saw a picture of Ralph Friesen recently on the Citadel coaching staff way back in the day with Frank Beamer. They look very similar stature-wise. I was like, wow.
Young Ralph Friesen did?
Yeah.
Did
not realize that.
We are in the rejoin.
Thank you.
Whoa, I'm looking at the picture right now.
It's got eyes.
Yeah,
That is not the rough region I grew up seeing.
Rolling into the second half of the program, here's what you need to know if you're just waking up, coming to morning. Unfortunately, Team USA Women's Soccer will not win a gold medal at the Olympics. They got beat 1-0 by Canada in the semifinal round, excuse me. So Team USA will have a chance to win a bronze, but not another gold medal in women's soccer. As far as women's basketball, Asia Wilson continues to pace Team USA there in an 11-point win against France. She was a leading scorer, I think 22 points in that game. So Team USA wins its 52nd straight game in the Olympics and continues to roll, although not in dominant fashion as they head into the quarterfinals. They won't find out their opponent until later on tonight. I think I read there for Team USA Women's Basketball. As far as overall, the story of this Olympics has been Simone Biles opting out because of mental health reasons, not just the team competition, that was the original one, but then the individual all-around, which another American ended up winning in Suni Lee. And then now in several different events, it looks like the finals that will be held, she is going to compete in, or set to compete in tomorrow, the balance beam finals. And I just read where another American won the gold medal in I think it was the floor exercise. Is that the latest one that came through here just a few minutes ago? Sorry if you're waiting till prime time tonight to watch the replay of that, if I ruined that for you. But good news, I think, from the standpoint of Team USA Gymnastics in multiple ways. First of all, gold medals are always good. Secondly, that Simone Biles will be back competing. And a new phrase was put out there in kind of this conversation over the weekend, Patrick. You said you had never heard of it before. I hadn't either. A case of the twisties. Makes sense to me, though. This is how I like people to talk about sports, very simply. Help me understand. I get that. You start twisting and flipping around all over the place in gymnastics, and it can go wrong. I mean, they call it a case of the twisties. I get that. And I guess that was part of the problem with Simone Biles and part of the decision-making process for her to opt out. Said when your head's not all there, right? Mm-hmm. But when you add the mental stress aspect, I can totally understand coming to that. It's part of our original conversation saying, hey, man, you got to admit that if you're doing a full speed vault where you're flying, I don't know how many feet in the air, I'd say at least 12, 15, somewhere in there, that it could be a dangerous thing if you're not all there mentally. And that's maybe the latest wrinkle in the conversation there. And to me, again, Patrick, I think this is kind of best case scenario for this situation and for us as a sports loving society, a gold medal winning loving society, that we love to build people up and then we love to tear them down. And I feel like Simone Biles is the latest example of that in multiple ways. And the fact that she has a chance to put a happy ending on this thing and to do it in kind of a minor way compared to the expectations going in, that she can show young athletes out there that you can deal with physical, mental issues and then work through them and hopefully kind of rise to the moment as well. I think that would be the best case scenario here and kind of move this thing forward in a positive direction, the most positive direction we could get out of this thing. And again, I want to be very clear. I was not an advocate of the mental health reasons hopping out of the team competition and the whole thing. That really rubbed me the wrong way as it was happening originally. I think the more I've come to read about not just Simone Biles and her personal background, but also just the U.S. gymnastics culture, and the more I've come to understand this and the less I compare it to other situations like a team sport in basketball or baseball or football and try not to just throw a blanket over this thing and saying, yes, this is something that's okay or good or something to she's not a hero for this, but I don't think she's a villain either. I have her somewhere in the middle, kind of what we talked about maybe on Friday, the last time we spoke about it, Patrick.
Where do you see the role of the coach where should that have been? Like, Wouldn't it have made sense if the coach was watching all of the warm-ups and seen her for the couple of days beforehand and just say, Simone, it doesn't have it, and I'm going to make the tough decision to sit the greatest gymnast of all time, and just
Well,
kind of put that responsibility on himself rather than making her decide for herself?
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think it's important. I don't know who the gymnastics coach is. Do you? Bella Caroli is the one I know simply because he like picked Carrie Strug up back in the day and carted her off as she was going through her monumental moment, and he had been there for years and years, and he and his wife, I guess, were in charge. And then I think years later certainly caught a bunch of criticism there for the culture and environment there. And I read an opinion piece in the Washington Post yesterday from Dominique Dawes, a former champion, and criticizing just U.S. gymnastics in general, and say she has her own gym now, and her biggest accomplishment in life is seeing young competitors, young athletes leave her gym with a smile on their face, and that's kind of the environment that she wants to create. Now, again, as I say that, even there's a part of me in the back of my head saying, "Oh, you're just a participation trophy guy. Don't be that guy." And I'm not that guy. So that's why this is a very complicated issue, I think, in a lot of ways, a very multi-layered discussion with Simone Biles. And in that instance, Patrick, I don't think the U.S. gymnastics coach has enough cachet, power, authority, whatever it is, to tell the greatest of all time, who has the GOAT emblem on her leotard, that, hey, you're not gonna go. You know what I mean? I think this is also part of the pressure that she felt, that the world was on her shoulders. That was going to be left up to her. A lot like the greatest player in team sports, the greatest players, that they end up having a lot more leash and power than a typical player would have with their coach or organization.
Yeah, it just feels like if that was or maybe just talk to her. Like, you'll see a pitching coach come out and try and, I mean, I saw it all the time with Max Scherzer over the years. He'll say, "Hey, Max,
Sure.
we got to pull you in." He'll I'm not coming out of this game.
Good
Go back.
luck. Right.
Like, Max would just point back at the dugout before the pitching coach even takes 2 steps on the field. So I would think that the coach could sit down with Biles and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of putting Suni Lee in because you just don't look like you have it today." And if she said, "No, I'm fine. Like, this is my moment. This is what I'm doing. I'm the best ever," or she would say, "Okay, I understand your decision. Like, you're right. I don't feel like myself right now." I don't know if those conversations happened, or he just, like you said, he just feels like, I am in no position to put the greatest of all time on the
Just
bench.
one accident.
But I think the
touchdown
whole
by
conversation would have been different
I'm 77.
if the coach didn't say in the middle of the competition, Simone is having a mental health issue right now, and she's not going to compete. If he said, I made the decision that Simone doesn't have it right now, and she's going to support her teammates, but she's not going to compete today.
The fact that it was first reported as an injury, but very quickly it became the explanation kind of from the coach, I think, on the floor there, that it wasn't an injury, it was a mental health deal. So clearly they had those conversations to some degree, Patrick, going in, and it seems like they left it up to her to pull herself, or they maybe just wanted to see that first vault, and then it happened, and then they moved forward. So I think there was a role of the coach there, but as in a lot of roles, when compared to the greatest of all time, they don't have the ultimate authority in that thing, and that defers or defaults to the player, the athlete in that situation. I got no problem with that. It could have been handled a lot differently, for sure. I think they could have definitely stepped in front and taken some bullets, and that might have been the best way to introduce this situation to us that we've never seen before. But it's kind of revisionist history at this point. We'll continue to discuss. We'll get into the latest NCAA news, a constitutional convention. I don't even know what that means as it pertains to sports. We'll try to figure it out as we roll on this morning. No Bill Gunter, but me, Tim Hill, Patrick Perrette, and Jen Jensen with you this morning. It's the early game. It's 107.5 again. Good news in that we continue to, I think, get to a point with the now almost 16-month-old where we're telling him things to do, and then he'll actually do them. We're still working on it, and meal times are just an absolute disaster with him throwing things. It was a popsicle yesterday, just creating a massive mess. Fortunately, we've got professional help at our house a couple of times. Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning's come out, cleaned our carpets, cleaned an area rug for us, also freshened up the tiles in the kitchen and the bathroom, got our house looking and feeling its best. And certainly we need help doing that these days with our 3 kids. But what we were most impressed with was not just the professional results that we kind of expected when we got the pros out to our house, but how Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning does their service. They have a no harsh chemical process with their powered water process there. No harsh chemicals to worry about, nothing for us to worry about. That's especially important in my house. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That's why our carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well, especially right here smack in the summer. Maybe you're getting ready to go back to school like we are at our house, and now's a great time to get a handle on getting your home looking and feeling its best. Get Zero Res out there. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. Book your appointment online right now at ZeroResColumbia.com. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
It is pouring right now for these track and field events. That is miserable. 400-meter hurdle in the pouring rain. These women are laying on the ground at the washroom, just being pummeled with rain, and there's officials just running up to them while they're laying on the ground, handing them a mask. Their mask is just going to get soaked, and they're struggling to breathe, and just a miserable situation all around.
Oh, man. I feel like this is going to go down as, I was going to say the least notable, maybe not the least notable, certainly the least loved Olympics of all time, and it's not even close. I mean, no fans in the stands. COVID implications all over the place.
Who is the star of these Olympics now?
There isn't one, right? I think
Is it Caleb Dressel?
you got your swimmer there as the from the American standpoint.
He's been very popular on social media. Girls are big fans of Caleb Dressel.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good-looking kid. I like the vibe of the swim teams. They're all very supportive of each other. You can hear it in the arena. Maybe because there's no fans, but I enjoy when the guys are finishing the home stretch. You can hear all of their teammates screaming and splashing the water, and just seems like a very supportive environment. I know the swim team here was like that too. The swimmers are always very close with the divers and all the different strokes and everything like that. It's a very good vibe.
Oh, some USA baseball right now on, apparently. Patrick, you got
I was looking for that. I saw that it was on the featured thing, but I couldn't actually find the game itself.
got a girl, Hope. 6-3, Team USA right now over Japan.
Japan is the favorite to win that thing too. I don't see it.
Hope, where are you watching it on is the question. Or
Oh, is this it?
Patrick might have it. Never mind.
Let's see. Oh, is this the knockout stage? USA's playing Japan on the knockout stage? Is that real? No way. Do you see the pole vault thing with the Italian and the guy from Qatar?
Did not. Without joust, I hope.
No.
That'd be amazing.
That was kind of a controversial thing on Twitter. That might be something to discuss on the air. Just dual gold medals.
What?
Yeah.
The exact height?
Yeah. They were offered
the knockout stage. It looks like there are only 6 teams in baseball there.
Is that
Both went
That's it?
2-0 and they're pools. Why would they play each other? That's stupid.
so? The team that loses this game is not going home.
No, so you just made up that knockout stage thing?
It says knockout stage in the description,
Sure does.
but is the knockout stage? Is it multiple?
Knockout of medals? What
I don't know.
does it mean, Patrick? So it was a 3-run shot in the 5th that just put Team USA up 3. They're in the still top 5 where I'm at.
Yeah, maybe it's double elimination. Maybe it's a knockout. I don't know.
Back in, you got about a minute. Okay,
Quintessential Tokyo 2020 here in 2021 discussion on the live video stream. Hope gave us the Team USA is up 6-3 on Japan. Patrick finds it. How'd you end up finding it on your Olympic channel there?
I had to scroll way down the screen on the NBC Olympics app.
And it says it's the knockout stage. There are only 6 teams there. Both Team USA and Japan are the only 2 teams that have won their first 2 games, and now apparently they have to play each other in a knockout stage. We're going to try to figure this out, but we have really very little intel on this. But again, a 3-run homer from Team USA in the 5th inning puts them up 6-3 right now. So we can give you live updates on live sports as we roll into hour number 3 here. That's always a good thing. It would be helpful if we knew we had any clue what we're talking about. So we'll try to figure that out. Hot Sauce Ross just hit us up with any football news. Was a relatively quiet football weekend, but we do have a football game this week, Thursday night. Hall of Fame game in the NFL. How about that? Hour 3 next. Jen, do we need to do any other kind of tests for the phones, or are you positive?
Yeah, they're good. He called me. I called him.
Cool. And you run it through the board and preview it and the whole thing?
I can. Like I said, the fact that it's at least they're working.
Right. So you're confident there. We're good. I'll
Yeah.
send a text of thank you.
Wow.
Yep. All good.
The guy that hit the 3-run homer is Tristan Casas.
Uh-huh.
21 years old, from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Went to American Heritage, just like the most insanely talented school in Florida. I know American Heritage because Tyson Campbell and Patrick Surtain, 2 of the top 30 draft picks, top 33 draft picks this year, were the starting corners on that team.
Huh. And
Both 5 stars.
went straight to pro ball now in the minor leagues, and now that's why he's playing?
Looks like it, yep. So I guess unless you're an everyday player in the MLB, you're allowed to play in the Olympics. It's good for the organization at that point.
Right. Now, Greg is saying that the dual gold was for the high jump.
High jump. Oh, okay. It might be. Let me look.
You really are all heart, no head in these Olympics.
Well, I saw it on Twitter. I didn't watch it.
All right, I'm going to check this high
And it is the high jump.
dual gold. Oh, yeah.
But a rules official asks them, hey, we can do another jump. And they looked at each other and said, we can have 2 golds? And they said, yeah. And they just started freaking out and hugging each other. Like, yeah, we both won gold.
But no. I don't like it, not one bit.
Oh, no, this girl just wiped out in the pouring rain on a hurdle. Ow.
Oh, man. That's stinks.
Oh, she's still down. Come on, get up and finish. Nope.
Has this ever happened before?
I don't know. Apparently, it's in the rule book, though. It's like not a. I don't know if it's happened before, but it's very much allowed.
All right, I'm going to look it up since it's happened before. Dual gold medal.
The medal ceremony was funny.
They just hugging.
Well, they're both on the top podium, and the guy with the bronze is like way down and off to the right. Like he's barely in the picture.
All right.
No silver medals were awarded.
Dual gold medals in the same event. event history. All right. Hey, got it. Wikipedia. Nice job. See how many times it's happened. No. This is not what I'm looking for. This is multiple Olympic gold medalists in one event. Nope. 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 Wikipedia, you stink. In the same event. I should say gold medal winners. Maybe 2 gold medal winners in the same event. Maybe. Weird. See if the AP. Yeah. Multiple medalists in one event. No. Let's see if USA Today will give us some historical perspective.
Some of the commentary is very funny on that.
A strange exclusion in a 135-page rulebook. Whoa. The other dude didn't know whether he was going to get a silver or a bronze, he said.
The third place guy? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm hoping for it's a bronze.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known. Maybe they could do 4 medal winners. Maybe that though.
No 4th place. Get out of here.
Oh, she kicked the wrong hurdle and then, oh man, yikes.
The whole track and field, like the hurdles, never have understood how you can do that. The timing, the jump,
I've never felt brave enough to attempt to run it at full speed.
No.
I've stepped over them on the track, but I've never attempted to run over it at full speed. That first time you do it has got to be terrifying.
Oh, I just can't imagine. All right, we are in the intro.
Okay. Got it.
You guys are up.
Only 2 events in all the Olympics. And this happened, and it happened this year. And the more I read about it, it's like the more I'm okay with it. Although, just by principle alone, the idea of sharing a gold medal with a fellow competitor just goes against everything I've ever learned about competition. And apparently, this happened over the weekend. And thanks, who hit us up here on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line? This was Greg that knew about this and gave us the heads up on this. And the high jump, 2 guys, I guess, went for 2.39 meters. They both didn't clear it. They had both cleared 2.37. And they were, I guess one of them said, so we can both get gold? And that's exactly what happened. A guy from Italy, a guy from Qatar. And the more I'm reading about it, I guess one of them has been in the other's wedding, and the other one's going to get married and be in his wedding. It's going to basically, they're going to be in each other's weddings. They both had an injury to their ankle. I think the original one happened in 2016, where a doctor told the guy he might never compete again, and then a couple of years later happened to the other guy. And now they both have gold medals in the Olympics. It's the high jump and the pole vault where you can have dual gold medals, I guess. you can share a gold medal, and that's what happened here. And we were talking about how this Olympic Games is going to go down, be remembered. Patrick's question in the live video stream break was simply, is there a face in this year's games? And the easy answer for me is absolutely not. No, I don't think there is a face or an overwhelming storyline other than that this thing has been the hardest Olympic Games to hold in history. And it has been, from the American standpoint, I think, the Simone Biles standpoint, maybe the most controversial and talked about kind of away from competition Olympics, as opposed to what's happening kind of in between the lines and who's getting the gold medals and the whole kind of deal. This sharing of a gold medal, man, I was hoping maybe it would be like a this year kind of exception kind of deal because of everything these athletes have gone through, delayed a year and the whole thing. Maybe it would be an exception, but apparently no. This has always been an option for the high jump and the pole vault only, that you can share an Olympic gold medal if two competitors end up with the exact same mark.
So just one of them has to say, no, I want to. And would that mean they just continuously keep trying to do 2.37 until someone doesn't get it?
I think it was they had both hit 2.37. They were trying to do 2.39, right. I guess, or maybe it would go down after a certain amount. I don't know how it would work, but it makes sense that it would work in those two events, right? Because at some point, hey man, you can't just keep going up and up and up. And if both guys can't hit it, then you should probably just call it. And unfortunately, it should be a tie. Ties, I think most of us despise, and soccer gets the worst rap for it, right, Patrick? That a lot of games in the whole thing. Yeah, maybe it's just in our country. And then Trey says, what if there had been a two-way tie for the bronze? That might be the most interesting, because the guy who finished behind both of those guys said he didn't know if he's going to get a silver or a bronze. And he ended up getting stuck with the bronze medal because there were two guys in front of him. And then now, Patrick, you said you're just track and field, and it was a not a pretty scene with the hurdles in the rain.
The whole track events for the day looks miserable. It is pouring out there, and yeah, I was watching 400-meter hurdles, and one of I think she was Canadian, maybe. She got off her line a little bit and went for the hurdle, and her lead foot brushed this hurdle next to her and ended up just wiping out. It was a tough look. What they are toughing through right now looks absolutely miserable. The 400 in itself is very, very difficult because it's like the furthest you can run in one breath, basically, or in a full sprint, and then you add the hurdles onto that. Looks horrible. I don't know what the temperature is. I wouldn't think so.
I mean, that's the safety
Not cool.
aspect.
Tracks are slick.
No doubt. Just by themselves, right? Without any rain involved in that thing. Lucas hitting us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line at 803-404-6100 this morning. Fort Dorchester's Jasmine Quinn won gold in the 100-meter hurdles last night, and he says Burke's Raven Saunders with silver in the shot put. So South Carolina natives doing well. I've seen Tim Beret from Clemson as a longtime sports information director there saying I think there's 6 medals already guaranteed for current or former Clemson athletes, the most since 96. I think that's what I saw. It might be 4 now and then 6 back in 96. Tyler's suggestion this morning, the text, is if Luka Doncic ends up taking Slovenia to gold, he'll end up the face of the Olympics. I don't think a basketball player can be it anymore from the men's side because they're professional, because they play in the NBA. I think A'ja Wilson certainly has a chance to be one of the faces on the Team USA side as she continues to lead that team in their 52nd straight win in the Olympics. And the storyline, though, continues to be not necessarily in dominating fashion, but A'ja had 22 points against France and an 11-point win, I believe it is, for Team USA to advance into the quarterfinals. They'll find out who they're playing later on tonight and play on Wednesday again. I believe it's when Team USA and Don Staley and company will be back in action. But I think that Simone Biles, I don't think the controversy will be able to be overcome by anybody, Patrick, just because of the unique nature of this and the polarizing nature of it as well, knowing that the mental health was the explanation for bowing out of the team competition. But maybe now that she is going to compete, and that's the latest word from Team USA Gymnastics today, is that Simone Biles will compete, and I believe it's the last individual event that will be held in Tokyo with the balance beam. She's going to be back and try to overcome any kind of issues that she's been dealing with, and will be interesting to see how she competes and then the reaction to that as well.
Yeah, there's almost no way. I mean, what do we have? It's the last week, right? The last couple days.
I believe it'll end this weekend, but I'm not positive on that. That's how it usually wraps up, I believe.
Who knows how this week develops, but coming into it, I would have said that excluding basketball players, because I don't think they can count, because no one will remember them as Olympians. This is not the biggest stage that they're playing on, and kind of same with soccer, because there's also a World Cup that's bigger than this. I would have said that probably Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky are the two coming into this Olympics that everyone at home who was a casual observer of the Olympics knew and would have tuned in to watch. So I don't know that anything can pass this up, but Caleb Dressel has, if you didn't know who he was coming into the Olympics, is going to be the name that you will probably remember, because it's Spitz, Phelps, and Dressel now as the three that have won 5 gold medals. And I don't know enough about his times or anything like that, but I mean, I don't know if that makes him the 3rd best men's American swimmer. I don't know if Lochte was better than him, but was always going up against Phelps, so that screwed him up. But I will definitely remember Caleb Dressel's dominance, but will it be number 2 to Simone Biles? Whatever. Like, we'll see how it ends. If it's remembered as she had the twisties and then she came back and won a gold medal, then it'll be like a triumphant remembrance, most likely. And then those of us that kind of lived through it will remember the crazy couple weeks of speculation and conversation surrounding it. But I think no matter what, she has to be the one that will be remembered from this. She wasn't the flag bearer, but who was the flag? Sue Bird? I think it might have been Sue Bird.
She, and then Eddie Alvarez, baseball
yeah.
team, who was also a winter Olympian before in speed skating, kind of crazy. If Caleb Dressel hadn't come in the post-Michael Phelps era, I'm with you, that he'd be automatically up there. But unfortunately, compared to the greatest Olympian of all time, not just swimmer of all time, but Olympian across the board. Also, the fact that Simone Biles had that billing coming in, right, was just supposed to add more gold medals and the whole thing, and then all this has happened. Yeah, how this story ends, I'm really interested to see, because it has so many layers on so many different angles to it, right? First of all, if you don't come to this issue with the humility that you basically probably know very little about gymnastics in general, and even if you know the terrible Larry Nassar story, and even if you are maybe the biggest Olympics fan and you come to it every 4 years and you're all in with Team USA, well, what about the other 3 years? Right, what thing that goes into it, and I guess I think they put maybe the World Championships on, or maybe the U.S. Nationals on every year or so. But I mean, that never gets talked about, I think, in the national conversation of sports, or very rarely, right? And Simone Biles is kind of the exception that has gone past what is basically a niche sport. What it was Mary Lou Retton when I was growing up, right? She was kind of the country's darling in 1984, I think it was, for a perfect 10. It was Carrie Strug, because she overcame an injury and had a dramatic moment after that. But other than that, I can't tell you, maybe a handful of gymnasts' names. I mean, who's the last male gymnast that you know of, Patrick? Do you know? I can't give you one. What is it, Bart Connors, I think, way back in the day? That's one name that popped in somewhere way back in my head. I don't know. It just kind of came out in a sports Tourette's moment there.
No, I know the ones from this year because I just watched them, and then I will probably not remember them in 2024.
I mean,
You won't remember them tomorrow.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, that's the honest conversation I feel like we need to have when it comes to any kind of gymnastics issue. But this one obviously goes beyond that, right? Where is the role of mental health and mental health issues when it comes to especially team sports? Because that was the competition that Simone Biles bowed out of and kind of left her teammates hanging. A lot of us saw, but then you can go the other way too and said she did the selfless thing and actually was going to hurt her team more in the whole deal. So the latest, again, is that a case of the twisties was a part of that consideration, which I had never heard of before. and apparently that gymnasts get in vaulting, and I guess maybe the floor routine when you're in the air and you're doing these ridiculous maneuvers that I watched trampoline for a few seconds for the first time in my life as well. Have you seen this, Patrick?
Yeah.
That thing is
Oh.
absolutely nuts. I mean, how high in the air do you think they get?
Um,
It's got to be like 30 feet, doesn't it? 20
Yeah.
feet at least? It is ridiculous. Yes, June. So you've never seen it either?
No,
it's
but
a-
I'm going to Google now.
It's a relatively new Olympic event. I think maybe the last Olympics was the first time it had been done. And it is just ridiculous how far they shoot in the air. And then they basically just do a series of jumps with a series of difficult maneuvers in the air. And that's how they get judged. And it is mind-boggling to me. A dude who can never land a front flip on the old backyard trampoline. Like, now I'm not even going to try. I don't want to bust my head. And now I'm watching my kids jump all over the place and trying to encourage them to do flips too, hypocritically.
Right.
These guys, I was watching the male version of it. It was absolutely ridiculous. And what stuck out to me over the weekend, I mentioned it earlier, is that there's diving qualifying. Final 12 divers get in. There was a Canadian female diver who was already in the top 12, finishing out her final dive, just needed a solid one, and just completely missed the steps and ended up just jumping in feet first, doing absolutely nothing, and got a 0. And just an example of how much pressure and how many times these Olympic athletes rise to the moment. That's the rare exception that I've ever seen where it looked like a human being and just not being able to hit the moment and just so that diver did not qualify for the finals and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just really notable. Kind of like what you're watching, I think, right now in the track and field with the rain getting in the mix there and the ugly scene on the hurdles there. Brutal.
Now it's the steeplechase. Maybe the most wild track and
That
field
is
event.
wild.
I don't get it.
So for the uninitiated, how would you describe it? It's like hurdles involved with some puddles in the whole thing?
Yeah, you're just jumping over a hurdle into a puddle. I don't. What is the purpose of the water? Like, what is that accomplishing? Just who can run the furthest and fastest while soaking wet? Just making them uncomfortable for no particular reason. And it's already raining.
Couple of you weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Chris says, when my daughter injured her elbow, she suffered from a mental block when tumbling from cheerleading. I can see that for sure. And then Timbo says, there comes a time when a man states that his feet will no longer go over his head again. He's trying to make me feel better or maybe older. Trey updating us that Team USA just getting out of a jam baseball, taking on Japan.
Kind of.
Now moving, where are we in this sucker, Patrick?
Top of the sixth. Yeah, Japan
Yes.
played a 2 in that inning. It's 6-5 now. There were 2 outs and a man on second, I think, and Japan was threatening. There was a foul hit down the foul line that was very, very close, it looked like, to potentially plating that run and tying it up. But, yeah, U.S. is hanging on to a 6-5 lead. I didn't realize who the pitcher was today. It was Tanaka from the Yankees a couple years ago, who's only 32 years old, but I guess he's already back in Japan. He was one of the top 3 starters for the Yankees really not that long ago. So that's actually a lot of star power for Team Japan.
Who you said was favored, you thought, going into this Olympics to win the gold medal?
Yeah, I think the expectation was that Japan was the favorite because they were going all in for this tournament, and the United States was, these guys that are playing are mostly minor leaguers or retired or borderline retired players.
Right, on the back end of their careers, it's
Right.
an interesting mix for sure from the Olympic baseball standpoint from Team USA. Get into the college football discussion as we continue to roll on this morning. Relatively quiet weekend, big cookout weekend from a recruiting standpoint from the Gamecocks. Not necessarily a ton of headlines out of that, which I think is a good sign that the headline in college football in general is that Ohio State had a big-time decommit, one of the top 15 players in the country, I think, decommitted from Ohio State. And none of that type of news coming out from a local standpoint. I guess a relatively negative headline for Clemson. They had a cornerback get into some legal issues, but it looks like he's going to stay with the program and try to work through those. Was clocked going 115 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone and ended up injuring someone. I've seen now where it looks like the local police trying to use this as an example to change the laws in the state of South Carolina to where you would be punished greater if there is any kind of bodily injury from this. But the way the laws are written now, it is not a felony issue here. It is misdemeanor, and that's part of the Clemson release, I think, because it was a misdemeanor deal. This cornerback for Clemson will remain on the football team, and he'll be disciplined internally, I believe, is the way that it was worded specifically. And that's part of the policy there at Clemson. Guy's name out there, I believe it's Fred Davis. Part of the issue, Fred Davis.
Freshman corner. Yeah.
So some headlines there from college football, and we'll get into a few more, especially the overarching one that came out after our show on Friday, that there will be a constitutional convention in November with the NCAA. And it seemed like from the national conversation that college football playoff proposal of expanding from 4 to 12 teams might be under fire a little bit, especially knowing Greg Sankey's role in all of that. We'll discuss when we come back. Love to hear your opinions as well. 803-404-6100 is the number into the program. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, that 60 miles over the speed limit, hit a postal worker and knock them into other cars, and then multiple people injured.
Brutal, huh?
Does not sound like a misdemeanor.
Right. So it's reckless driving, I guess.
I read the same thing where they're saying when injuries are involved, that's not something that can add additional charges, or it can't be considered in the eyes of the law, basically.
Right. South Carolina law does not allow for enhanced penalties for reckless driving that results in serious bodily injury.
Yeah, but in like the state of Virginia, I think if you're going 12 over or something ridiculous, you get reckless driving, and they're known for being really strict about that. On 81 is always an issue, but that's just not the same thing as 60 miles over.
From the
Over
Shepherd's Glass
100 when the
Traffic
speed limit's
Center.
already 55.
Shepherd's Glass.
Right.
Hitting a parked mail truck, I guess.
Yeah, grounds for internal discipline for misdemeanor charges like this are covered under the Clemson handbook.
Yeah, there's just no way that can be explained away where it's not a big deal.
Right. Well, I guess this will be his second season, even though he's technically still calling him a freshman.
Is it?
I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah, he played last year. 13 tackles. Supposed to compete for playing time. How much does?
Well, now that Darian Kendrick has been removed from the team for a felony, he can go ahead and take that spot. Goodness.
No, Kev, I do not think so. Actually, it makes enough sense for the Pac-12 or the Big Ten to add teams that don't just bring them more value or that much more value. I haven't seen that presented anyway.
I would like to see it, though. AAC take a couple of those teams. I'd like to see, because some of them I don't consider them to be Power 5 teams, and if they weren't Power 5 teams, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I think they're much more attractive to the AAC than the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Yeah. If Baylor was playing Houston in the AAC, I'd say, yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. But I think as opposed to doing that, those 8 teams left over might just try to stick it out themselves. I wouldn't think I don't know. I think I was talking to my buddy who's a big West Virginia guy. He's like, yeah, the money would be so much less with Texas and Oklahoma out of the conference.
Yeah.
No, he's just. I was like, what's the best case scenario? He was like, I don't know if there is one.
For someone that's not involved at all, I would just basically like to see Oklahoma State go to the Pac-12, Iowa State to the Big Ten, West Virginia to the ACC, and everyone else go to the AAC.
I'm down with that. Then you would have to get rid of assuming you have Notre Dame in there with the ACC, that would give them an even number, right? So you'd be good. But how do you get over the odd number in the Pac-12?
I would like to see Boise State get added.
Okay, done.
I'd like to see what Boise State could do with the cachet of a power conference.
And then what about the Big Ten?
It wouldn't happen because they don't clearly don't want Boise State, but
right. What about the Big Ten? You got another proposed team making that an even number?
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Done. I'm in with that.
Yeah.
And that is the exact opposite of how all this would be handled.
Yeah, none of that will happen. I mean, I wish Notre Dame was in the Big Ten, though. If I could have it in a perfect world. It's just weird for them to be in the heart of Big Ten country and then be an ACC school.
Yep.
And I'd like to see Notre Dame get humbled by Ohio State every year. Would also be nice.
You know, that's a really good reason. I'm with you on that one. Now I can get on board with that program.
Be tough for Michigan if they keep losing to Notre Dame and Ohio State every year, though.
I think we got NASCAR, Cubs, and Notre Dame. Those are the three things that'll get Jen on the mic the quickest, for sure. And I should say anti-Notre Dame.
Exactly. Gotta know the things.
Oh, yeah. Somebody asked about F1 earlier in the show, and I just got this front office sports newsletter. It said that they've grown, Formula One viewership has grown 36% this year, and social media mentions have grown 99% since last year. Formula One's blowing up right now.
Netflix.
They're getting smart.
Netflix is killing it, yeah.
Yeah.
The last two races I've watched have been electric. I was watching yesterday. It was very entertaining.
It is a fascinating brand of racing for sure.
Just watching the cars zipper, it's just crazy to watch them in the behind the car views. The way they jerk around so quickly, it's insane.
And yeah, the amount of downforce and G's that are involved in that, and yet just this split-second timing and the you cannot touch. I mean, it's catastrophic if you start for the most part and threading.
And the wheels are crazy too.
Yeah.
It's like a little control panel. They're just pressing buttons and like turning a little handle instead of an actual steering wheel.
Do they have push to pass? I don't think
What's
F1
that?
does that.
What's that mean?
Usually in IndyCar they've had it where they give you a push to pass options. Basically, it's like a little boost, like a nitro boost almost. And
they call it DRS, I think.
Okay.
Because they say that all the time, like so and so has DRS, which is
you only have so many.
DRS.
We're heading back in.
The drag reduction system.
Hot Take Hotline, always there for you here on 107.5 The Game, sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never see them, or the men who never settle, I should say. Go see them down in the Vista. The Hot Take Hotline, the number there is 803-978-6654. No matter what's going on, you can always call that number. Vent a little bit. Maybe we'll play your hot take on the air when we have our normal shows here from 6 to 9 in the morning and noon to 7 in the afternoon. And would love to see you at Charwood Golf Club Friday, August 27th. Mark your calendars. Going to have the annual preview fall football golf tournament out there at Charwood. Give them a call at 803-755-2000 if you'd like to sign up right now. Captain's Choice event tees off at 10 o'clock. Going to have breakfast and lunch out there for you. Panera providing breakfast. Little Pigs will be providing the barbecue lunch. Going to raise some money for Camp Cole in the process. Give away a trip to Kiowa for the winning team and raffle off a pair of tickets to the Gamecock home opener That'll be 8 days from then. Again, Friday, August 27th. Love to have you out at Charwood, part of the 107.5 The Game annual preview golf tournament out there. Speaking of fall preview, Patrick, what is the greater chance of happening right now? College football playoff goes to 12 teams, or the NCAA basically completely separates itself from major college football?
College football playoff goes to 12 teams seems pretty much inevitable at this point. The only thing that would stop it now is complaints of the players and coaches, it feels like, and I don't think the NCAA cares about that at all. I don't think anyone who's got money involved cares.
I was with you before this proposed realignment that Oklahoma and Texas now basically being accepted into the SEC, or being invited and then accepting on Friday, going down. I feel like these other schools now are certainly raising their hand and saying, hey, man, how is Greg Sankey, the guy who has clearly worked behind the scenes to rearrange college football and how it's done, how does he get to be on the 4-person committee that also proposed from the college football playoff to expand from 14 to 12? Now, Sankey's response is simply, hey, you guys want to keep it 4, fine with me. Because from the SEC standpoint, you got no problems getting anybody in that the 14 playoff. So maybe that response is enough, but I feel like almost to stick it to in the SEC, some of these other schools are really going to try up from the college football playoff expansion. Say, hey, I am not voting for this 12-team proposal, almost as just a referendum on you taking Oklahoma and Texas and clearly becoming or adding to your dominance as the top conference in the country. You don't see that happen?
I guess, but I mean, like you said, he said, fine, keep it at 4. The SEC's never been left out. They never will be left out. They're always the best conference. It just seems like the SEC is completely impenetrable right now. There's nothing you can do that's going to hurt them. I don't necessarily see how it helps. I think it would just help everybody else. I think all of those other conferences would want it to be 12 because is there any other conference that has been – the Big Ten has been left out before, right? Or have they not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, because Ohio State didn't make it. Yeah, so everybody's been left out except the SEC, right?
I think that's how it works when you're looking at the Power 5 conferences through the years of the college.
Has the ACC been left out?
Last decade or so. Clemson has made it, I think, 6 of 7 years or something like that. So I'm guessing the one time they were left out was when Florida State won the national championship. So I'm guessing
Okay.
But that's just off the top of my head here. To me, how this is going to go down, the reaction, and maybe the numbers are in the Greg Sankey and expansion favor right now, and this is just some loud noise coming off of the recent events of Oklahoma and Texas and kind of the disgruntled there, and they won't have enough enough power to gain favor in a vote against this expansion. Maybe that's where we're at. But I think it's also really interesting. You're talking about where the SEC is kind of impenetrable right now. If you think they have a lot of power in college sports right now, what's going to happen when this constitutional convention happens in November, which seems to be, from the outside looking in, basically just the official gathering to separate Power 5 schools from the NCAA, especially when it comes to college football. Not that it hasn't been that in the last year, and all you needed to see was what happened with COVID last year, where the NCAA says, nope, we're not going to have football, and the Power 5 conferences, kind of led by the SEC, said, no, yes, we are. And they moved forward, and they did, and clearly were able to salvage the season while the NCAA football version of the season happened in the spring. If that happens, Patrick, then Greg Sankey is to me kind of the de facto commissioner of college sports in a lot of ways.
So this conference, is this like Mark Emmert's last effort to make sure this doesn't happen?
No, it seems to me
He wants it to?
Yeah, the official move to kind of put out there, and this is, how dare you call it a conference, the Constitutional Convention.
Convention, right.
That's going to happen in November. It seems to be just the official version of what he gave reporters not too long ago, saying, the power structure needs to change. We got to look at how to shift this thing. And maybe it will be more of the public review of how amazingly difficult it is to govern 1,100 schools in Division 1, 2, and 3, and they're just going to kind of change the rules to where they can do that. Apparently, this is going to be a 22-person committee, university presidents, conference commissioners, and athletic directors and students made up from all those 1,100 schools. So basically 22 representatives of different, I would imagine, divisions and schools in the whole thing. And the ones from the Power Five will obviously have the largest spotlight on them and see whether or not they agree with where the NCAA is going, which clearly seems to be in that breaking off from the schools that have all the money and are making the moves now in conferences, with the SEC leading the way.
And okay, so Emmerich just realized they're too big to control at this point, and he's content kind of relinquishing some power and where the biggest money in college sports is coming from, basically,
Well, again,
just to save himself the headache.
Emmert is a lot like the NFL commissioner Roger Goodell, right? We think he has all the power, but basically they are just the figureheads.
He's a meat shield for the owners, basically.
Yeah, that's Roger Goodell, right? And then it's university presidents and athletic directors that Mark Emmert is basically working for from the NCAA perspective. So I think there's no way he would have ever made his public comments without the backing of them, right? And then knowing that this just seems to be the natural evolution at this point. The question now becomes, all right, is that 12-team proposal going to end up working out from the college football playoff perspective? Kev hits us up on the YouTube live stream, says, I always thought 8 was perfect. The best group of 5, if undefeated with a good schedule, gets somewhere between the 5th to 8th seed. You have 3 at-larges, I guess he's saying, with the Power 5 automatic seeds there, but we don't know if there's going to be a Power 5 anymore. And then I think the number becomes 12 because, as was kind of evident last year, I mean, are you letting Coastal Carolina in over another SEC school or a third SEC school? Are you letting Louisiana Lafayette or maybe even a BYU, had they stayed undefeated? I think that's what these Power 5 commissioners were kind of looking around and saying, yeah, I think you still have a big PR problem with 8, and knowing how those top 8 have been ranked in the college football playoffs rankings before, when it's come down to the end and the nitty gritty, and you got to have at least the appearance of letting everyone have a chance to win a national championship. And I think that's still part of the problem if you only have 8, Patrick.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think everyone thinks their idea is the best, but I do think 12 sounds perfect. It's the perfect balance of rewarding the best teams and giving them their bye. You get the home field advantage for the first rounds, which I think no matter what would be amazing for college football. A home playoff game at a big time college campus would just be incredible. It'd be incredible television. It'd be incredible environment to try and visit and watch. And it's just, yeah, last year, if it was 8 teams, Coastal's not in, BYU's not in, Cincinnati's probably not in. It's just maybe one of them gets in. Maybe Cincinnati gets in because they did have a good bowl game and they played Georgia. But I don't know. I think no matter what, it's expanding and it'll always be better. I think the more the merrier, no matter what. I'm not one of these people that believes at all that there's not going to be anything to play for. It's going to devalue the regular season. So I love the 12-team proposal. I think it's perfect.
Trey says, do you think the playoff committee had a heads up about the Texas-Oklahoma information, and that's why the 12-team was pushed? Well, Trey, the college football playoff committee included Greg Sankey. I think it was only 4 people, and he was one of them. And there's no way he was saying, hey, guys, just want to give you the heads up in here. This is just between us, and Oklahoma and Texas are going to come in, and this is why I think it should be 12. No, but that's part of the huge issue here, is that there seems to be a massive conflict of interest if you're not Greg Sankey, or especially you're from the Big 12, saying, wait, how can you have come up with this proposal while clearly you've been working behind the scenes to change the conference dynamic? It's a fascinating place to be from Greg Sankey's seat, right? And the conflict of interest is obvious there. And that's why I think it is much more in doubt now that this expansion that we all thought was going to satisfy everybody. Well, maybe not. Now it's not going to satisfy everybody. Clearly, it's not going to satisfy what's going on with those leftover 8 teams in the Big 12, but it probably won't be enough, I think, Patrick, to keep this from happening. But it's very much a lot more of a question mark as we sit here today than it has been when we've had these discussions in the past, I think. And what comes out from this, if anything, there has to be, I would imagine, a slip up somewhere from Oklahoma or Texas's position or the SEC office's position. Well, these are public institutions, right? And athletic directors' emails and presidents' emails and phone records and the whole thing, their Freedom of Information Act requests out there already in Austin and in Norman for the records. And people will be combing through these things to see. Did you make a call to Birmingham? Are there that Birmingham area code in there? Let's check out some of these numbers. And how long has this discussion really been going on? This is all about the coming weeks or months, and how it comes out will be very important, I think, to the future of this college football playoff expansion.
I just want to believe that all of these conversations happen between just the athletic directors and Greg Sankey on burner phones, and then conversations in rest stops in like rural Oklahoma. Like, I want to believe that that's exactly how it happened, and there's just zero paper trail. That it was just the perfectly executed thing, just mob style, burner phones only, and face-to-face conversations. I hope nothing comes out.
Well, to add another layer of intrigue in here, there is an interesting article on The Athletic talking about a post that Greg Sankey made not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, saying that he just read a great book about the English Premier League and how the owners of those teams got together and basically came up with this Premier League, that it had been an organization of soccer clubs that weren't necessarily massively profitable businesses, that they eventually became with this creation of the English Premier League. And that throwaway line that Dabo Swinney put out there a while ago said, maybe we should just have relegation like they do. They do that in soccer, right? Well, maybe that was more of an impetus for this latest round of expansion in the college football playoff. And maybe Greg Sankey did learn some lessons from these guys over in charge of the soccer clubs, and profiting and taking things to another level is the kind of gist of the article that I got anyway.
It would be beautiful if he was just leaving tiny little breadcrumbs, just insinuating what he was doing, and no one would ever know if you were not privy to those conversations, but he's just leaving tiny little hints along the way. Oh, I love that. I want it to be as devious and like whatever. I just want it to be as messed up as possible. I just love that. I wish I was there to see those conversations.
Wait, do you think in the office of the president at Oklahoma State or the athletic director, they had the Kaiser Sose moment where they look at the bottom of the coffee cup and all the comments come together in a flurry of the montage there?
Incredible.
Maybe that's just sports radio drama. Appreciate you tuning us in here on a Monday morning. Bill Gunter's got today and the next couple of days off. He's going to get ready for his football season push, we're hoping anyway. We'll see. And yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to survive these days off with the way those things go. Hopefully he's getting some rest and recharging. I think he said he's going to take a preseason magazine and do some research now and really come back a fountain of knowledge, even more so than usual.
Except before the preseason push, like this will be his last days off before the season starts.
Right. So watch out out there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
803-404-6100 if you'd like to get in a final word here. Again, the Olympics, to me, got some good news in multiple ways, and we'll give you the final baseball update as Team USA battling Japan right now in a knockout stage that I still don't understand because neither team has lost, and it looks like they should be actually poised to meet in a gold medal game. But when you only have a 16 tournament, which is what I think the baseball tournament is, when half the teams win a medal, you're basically in the participation trophy mode out there in the Olympics right now for baseball anyway. Trey says good news. Good news for Team USA. Final update. Coming up next, it's the early game here on 107.5 again.
What? Again?
Is that me, Jim? would you like to do it now? The end of the stop.
Sorry, I thought I typed all that in. Buford Lending. I'll come in after Corley Pool Solutions.
Will that be at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh no.
Oh, wow. What do you mean? Oh no.
This pole vaulter Sandy Morris is having just the worst time. Her pole broke
Oh
one
no.
of her attempts, and then she didn't make the next one. She's in her third attempt, and she hasn't even registered a score yet.
How
I think
do you
she's Medina, I
avoid
think.
that from happening?
I don't know. Use
Like,
a new one every time. I don't even know.
kind of like your bat breaking, in baseball. Like, it's unexpected, and do you get another chance, or like, how does that work?
Apparently she got hurt on one of her attempts as well. Man,
Dang.
Brutal.
she's pretty shaken up right now.
That's it. I think the first time your pole breaks and you land, I would think that would be a little scary. There's a risk of being impaled.
Yeah. Patrick, I'm following Kevin Kelly. He's the coach who doesn't punt, or does all onside kick. That got hired at Presbyterian.
Yeah.
1 minute.
A good. He just retweeted something. I guess it's a quote from Jake Remington. Fate whispers to the warrior, "You cannot withstand the storm." The warrior whispers back, "I am the storm." That's good stuff.
What is his Twitter?
Just a quote. Kevin Kelly is the dude's name from Presbyterian. He's the new football coach there. I was thinking about inquiring there to get him on during football season, just to see if he would be an interesting dude to talk
30
to.
seconds.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love it. Little publicity for his program.
Right. Hang in there, Mark. Sorry to hear that, man.
15. Five.
Hey, great time to be in the housing market right now. I can tell you from firsthand experience, a great lender to work with is Buford Lending, 843-524-2404. Benji Getzy and his team, 25 years of experience. So no matter where you're at in your journey right now in the housing market, which is absolutely hot, and you probably understand you might have more lending power now, more buying power, that is, from a lender than you've ever had before. And Benji can show you exactly those numbers. When he showed me my numbers, I was blown away at how I can change my family's situation and get into a really good monthly payment situation. But VA, USDA, conventional construction renovation loans, maybe you're looking to refinance right now, you're looking to buy a second home, whatever the situation, Benji Getzy and his team at Buford Lending have been through it before, and they will use their experience to find you that best deal and set your family up in the best position moving forward. That's Buford Lindy. Benji Getzi. Give him a call at 843-524-2404.
Broadcasting live from the Pert Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. At Heritage Chevrolet, we need your trade. We'll buy your car if you don't buy ours. Download the TuneIn app so that you can take 107.5 with you wherever you go. And now, back to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Question in on the live stream. Jim B says when the NCAA put Greg Sankey on that 4-person college football playoff committee, they knew he was the SEC commissioner, right? They can't be surprised when he makes a move to better his conference and then once the playoffs expanded. Not sure I understand the conflict of interest concern. What am I missing? Well, Jim, you're missing that if you're making it a 4-team bye, right? You're making it a 4-conference champion bye. If you have the knowledge that you're basically helping to dismantle that 5th Power 5 conference. And also, if you're the Notre Dame athletic director, who's also on that 4-person committee, and you know that your school is going to join a conference here coming up soon, to me, that's just shady stuff, man. Why would you put these guys in the position? If you're just having 4 people on the committee, why put those guys in that position? Knowing that, you're right, it is their job as the SEC commissioner or the Notre Dame athletic director to improve those organizations, but that's exactly what a conflict of interest is, right? If you have information that you know that other people don't know, and then you have another obligation to come up with kind of the best formula for everyone involved, and specifically it's going to help your organization more than the others, that's a little shady. Patrick, you don't think this is going to come too much, and you still think we're going to get the 12-team playoff?
Yeah, probably. I don't understand why any conference commissioners or any athletic directors or anything were involved in any of these from the start. Why can't we not just get legitimately unbiased and people with no allegiances whatsoever?
Well, because that doesn't exist, right? Everybody's got a history. Everybody went to a certain school.
Alma mater, but.
So I think might as well get the largest power brokers involved and have them sign off, as opposed to a theoretical committee where as soon as it's sent up the line, they'll be like, no, not even close. Try again, and then it could be a much longer and involved process in the whole thing. I think you always have these type of conflicts in college football. College football is the craziest of all sports, right? It's the only one that we get in major college sports where there's not a playoff system outside of 4 teams, and that's only happened in the last few years, right? Where you don't have a larger tournament to decide a champion. So I've always been of the mindset that better is moving in the right direction, and we've gotten better. The 4-team playoff does have its issues, and we've seen it with the same rotation basically of teams, same rotation of a handful of teams consistently in there, and that changes college football, and not necessarily for the better. I get that. I think expanding that pool, I think Nick Saban's concern of, hey, you got to pick a lane. Either you got the bowl system or you got an expanded playoff. It's got to be one or the other. Well, I think they'll continue to try to integrate the bowls with the college football playoff expansion, and I think they will continue to render these bowl games meaningless, more and more meaningless. That name, image, and likeness thing, though, might come back to help you there, where you get one last chance for some of these college football players to expose their brand to national television and give them maybe a little bit more motivation to play in these things than we've seen in the last few years. Who knows? But I think college football is such a juggernaut. Greg Sankey and the SEC and the powers that be have so much power that what they want, they're going to make happen at this point. Clearly, we've seen that with Oklahoma and Texas, and I think we're going to continue to see that with that 12-team college football playoff expansion. But then where does it stop? Kev says, yeah, then it's going to open up to 16, and then where does it go from there? And again, Patrick, I'm like you. Good. The more, the better. Let's get them all in. Who was it that said it at Media Days? I think it was Mike Leach. Let's get 64 in there. Let's do it like everybody else. I'm not afraid of that. I know some of you are.
More
Maybe
football.
we can, yeah, that's what we're going to continue to talk this month as we get more football with practice opening up this week, at the end of this week for the Gamecocks, in a NFL exhibition game on Thursday night, football season. It's kind of here already. Thanks for listening to the early game. That's pretty good, Chad. Just get a bunch of Wake Forest grads on there. No conflict with interest in any sports. Just rude. All right, guys. Thanks for checking us out this morning. Appreciate all the contributions.
Man.
I blame Sankey, Jim. I hear you. It's definitely part of the NCAA's fault.
Kind of like leaving food on the table and getting mad at the dog for eating it.
Right. I hear
There
you.
you go.
Thank you, Anthony. We echo what Hope says as usual. What's the latest baseball update, Patrick? You got in front of you?
Yeah, we're going into the seventh, bottom of the U.S. was just had a man on second and couldn't plate him with one out. So it's 6-5 still.
Not 7-6, you sure?
Yeah, I thought I heard 7-6.
I don't think 7-6. Not on my screen.
Weird.
Yeah,
That's what I saw.
Let me check their Twitter page.
I had
Yeah, they're up a run. That's all you need to know.
I get this off on Wednesday.
Was it some kind of growth or anything you had to?
Yeah,
Was it?
had
All right, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning.
had it.